so freaky. What is that, bro? I know that, guys, I know PoE 2 is not an MMO, but a lot of MMO players play Path of Exile because it has really cool systems and it's grinding.
A relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain. We will only get one chance. And remember, when you hear the whispers, call for help. Do not attack.
Adaros probably.
When you hear the whispers, what do you think he was on about?
It's Dorman, right?
Yeah.
Then Dorman, shut your damn mouth. Ugh, why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, the kid's got a mean cleave. Give him a chance.
Quiet.
That's my class. That's my class. Some virgin bow user shit.
A mean
Pussy can't even pull his sword out.
Captain. Rookie can't even lift his own sword. Captain Oren? Captain?
All right.
Rain! Send the signal! What the? Rain! On my back, blade up!
Come on. I'm ready. I'm ready.
This guy's a pussy.
It's a man.
No, it's not. Run.
Captain! Captain!
That's
Why are you here? What is it? Stop! Humanity isn't ready.
On your feet, lad.
Sir.
there's an alpha.
Captain,
You'll be fine.
He's gonna kill him.
Here.
What is this?
There it is.
Get the body.
Stop. Mortal. It can still be contained. You don't know what you have unleashed.
Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him! Feed. Grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
This some shit. Oh my god! cutscene, dude. Dude, what is it about BDO just can't deliver cutscenes like that, man?
I'm Jonathan Rogers, game
So
director
good.
on Path of Exile 2. Now, Path of Exile 2 is going into early access in around 2 weeks on December the 6th. But even though it's early access, this isn't just some small taste. The game is huge. In this live stream, we're going to be introducing everything you can expect. So without further ado, let's roll the gameplay trailer.
Okay, here we go.
Existence is a thing of beauty, precious, but impermanent. Life and death are mortal enemies, and yet bound to one another.
Oh my god, what was the human centipede
continuation of
situation
life
going on there?
must be protected at all costs. Some have said my methods are brutal. To this, I say, there can be no salvation without sacrifice.
The hammer looks badass. I'm in for the hammer. What is that skill tree? It's crazy.
We are faced with the end, and I will do what I must.
The flamethrower looked pretty sick too, guys.
Those who obsess with death, let them soon be acquainted with
Oh
it.
my god, that guy's head. Wait, he's got hands for what?
Now, as you just saw,
That's some
even in
nightmare
early
fuel.
access, Path of Exile 2 is a big game. It's actually been 5 years since we announced PoE 2, and over that time we've revealed a lot, but it's been in bits and pieces. It's
What up,
pretty
just
hard
a
to
guy?
keep track of it all, so today we're going to do a full rundown of all the content that will be available at the start of early access. Classes, character progression systems, and for the first time, a full overview of the endgame. This is going to be a big one, so get comfortable. For 20 years, Rayclast has been free from any sources of corruption, but the Count of Ogham, tempted by promises of power, intends to harness it once more. The dead are rising, monsters are mutating, and madness is spreading. Under the dark influence of corruption, the Count doles out sentences of death to any who would question him. And this is where you find yourself at the start of PoE 2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham. Traverse the barren plains of the
No! Oh no, the stream app!
Vesteri Desert,
We're good.
and
Save,
delve into the
save,
jungle
save.
ruins of Exile, an ancient Val city. There are challenging
No! Come on, I'm locked in right now. What?
monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses. No two areas are the same. It falls to you to track down the seed of corruption,
What a great
the source
PowerPoint.
of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely
I'm gonna refresh it. I'm refreshing it.
Now, early access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them.
No, it's cooked, guys.
The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat, and his mechanics involve building up and keeping momentum.
Okay.
Like all classes in PoE 2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos.
Dibs on Monk, that's all you. You're not playing Monk, you're a ranged class. Shut up, no. Stupid ass. YouTube stream?
To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE 2. You can choose an existing power.
Wait,
and tends to harm.
they're scrolling through the YouTube video. Hold on.
There are 21 active skills for quarter staves.
Okay, we're
so
back.
This just scratches the surface.
It's definitely
of the
live,
guys.
It's not a recording.
In-game, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing where you find yourself at the start of PoE 2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham, traverse the barren plains of the Vesteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city.
All right, skip the Monk. We've already seen that.
There are challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses.
It's
No
just
two
scroll
areas are the
back.
same.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
It falls to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation.
There we go.
On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations.
Wait, is that her? Never mind.
But first, you'll need to pick a class.
Don't worry about it. All right,
Now,
boys.
early access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat, and his mechanics involve
Monk
building
looks
up
sick.
and keeping momentum. Like all classes
The
in
ice
PoE
looks
2,
sick.
you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE 2. You can choose an existing skill to level up, or choose to engrave a new one. Since this is a level 7 skill
No
gem,
pay to
even
win.
if you pick a new skill, it will immediately be level 7, so there's no harm in trying out something new. The Monk primarily uses the quarterstaff. There are 3 schools of martial arts: lightning, ice, and wind.
Ice
I
looks the
don't think
best.
you have to stick to just one. The best combos are going to involve mixing elements of all 3. Let's try Killing Palm. Like many monk skills, this can be used to quickly take advantage of a specific situation. If there's an enemy on low life, you can use Killing Palm to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will provide a power charge. Then we can use a different skill to consume that power charge for a much more devastating attack. The Monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonating bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to all enemies around it. You can also do things like freeze or shock the bell, which will
Look at
add
the
elemental
lighting
damage
looks
to the
so
strikes. The Monk also has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing projectiles and obliterating screens of enemies with huge combo attacks. Now, if you like a style of melee that's a little slower but hits much harder, then the Warrior is for you. He pounds the ground with big chunky attacks and can shrug off the hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor.
Nope.
Even though the mace slams are slow, you never lose control. Longer attacks can be retargeted as
Really
you go.
smooth, though.
And if you find yourself committed to a
I've
long
never
attack,
really liked
you can
the
dodge
Warrior.
roll out of it at any time.
Yeah, I've never really liked the Warrior
Among the
gameplay.
skill option for maces, you'll
Unless
find
it's
a variety
female
of
and has
slams,
boobs.
fire attacks, war cries, and shield skills. Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire. Any slam skill will then cause these fissures to erupt with lava. I can even run through them with a skill like Stampede to do huge amounts of damage.
If it was female, I would
Warrior
play
can
it.
also use War Cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack. The Stampede counts as a slam, so I can double that for even more craziness. If you want to go a little faster and be a little more defensive, equip a shield. In PoE 2, you can raise your shield at any time to block all damage from the front, even spells.
All damage?
While holding up your shield, your stun meter will build as you take damage, so be careful. If it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable. Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this
Forward
red
guard?
flash.
Fog? Yeah.
If you see one of these coming, make sure to dodge out of the way. Using a shield also gives you access to shield skills, like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemies and stun them.
That was so
While
cool. He
charging,
made like an
you're also
earth
blocking
shield.
the whole time, so you have full damage immunity
That
from
was
the front.
sick.
The Warrior also has access to totems. Some totems have built-in abilities like Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks.
Oh,
like
that's
those from
actually
the
really
earthquake.
cool. Wait.
But you can also get Ancestral Warrior Totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that
Yeah,
it's a skill you can
Shaman
put
Warrior.
other skills into. I can take a slam like Sunder and socket it into my Ancestral Warrior Totem. Now when I summon him, he'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance.
Fucking. Oh my
There
god.
are 20 active
Never
skills for
mind.
maces,
Maybe I
so
do
there's a
play
lot more to
this.
try out. But by endgame, you're going to be dropping hammers from the sky, leaping fearlessly into combat, and
That's
separating
so
the very
sick.
earth you stand on.
That is not a
Time
normal
for some
take on
ranged
Warrior, bro.
attacks. The Ranger is primarily about the bow, but we wanted to make sure that she feels agile as well.
This is
In
not
PoE2,
me.
you can shoot while moving.
I'm not a bow guy.
Combined with all the skills the Ranger has that allow you to jump around, you'll have a lot of mobility in combat. Bow skills have a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks.
Okay.
Lightning attacks bounce around between targets.
This is me.
You also stick lightning arrows
Yeah.
in the ground which explode when hit by the bouncers, or electrocute enemies to take them out of combat.
Ranger's like an identity thing. If
Ice
this
attacks
speaks
allow
to
you to
you,
slow
it
and
really
freeze
speaks
enemies
to
to
you.
keep them
If it
away
does,
from
oh
you.
my god, that was cool.
Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar, but also grow some interesting plants.
Some people will only play Ranger. You know what I
With
mean?
21 bow skills and all the mobility and combo tools the Ranger has, you can take advantage
Warrior
of every
looks really
situation.
fun with the
By
totems. I
in-game,
thought
you'll be
that was
creating
really
hundreds
cool.
of arrows, be they falling from the sky, bouncing around between
Normally, I
enemies,
never
or
play
spraying
warriors.
out of tornadoes. You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different. In PoE 2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot. Flasks gain charges as you kill enemies, and typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times if they're full. But that's not the only thing you can use charges for. Charms are a new item type that will automatically defend you from various debuffs or damage types. Having trouble with getting frozen? Equip a Thorin
Is that better,
charm.
guys?
When it's fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze for 3 seconds if you get frozen. To recharge them, just kill more monsters. You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt.
Son of a bitch. Okay.
The Mercenary wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different ammo types, offering versatility, power, and mobility. All classes in Path of Exile
I'm
2
not really-
can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter.
This is
For the
how
crossbow, you will find skills that work
when
like
I play
shotguns,
games like this, I use the
sniper
crossbow.
rifles, assault
in the past.
rifles, and even
I love
grenade
this.
launchers.
That's
But
it.
not only that, there are a wide variety of more
Yeah, I
interesting
used to play
elemental
like
ammos
this.
too.
This is how I use
It's
it.
very fast to switch between ammo types, as long as you already have them loaded, which makes the Mercenary able to combo abilities together for
The mis-
devastating effect.
The crossbow firing grenades.
Use
Pretty
Glacial
badass.
Bolt to create walls of ice to separate enemies,
that.
then switch
That's
to
so
fragmentation rounds to explode the ice, dealing massive
at the
AoE
ice.
damage. If I come across an armored enemy, I could use armor-piercing rounds to break
Yeah,
their
Demon
armor,
Hunter, exactly,
and then
yeah.
high-velocity
That's
rounds
what I
to
played
take
in
them
D3,
down.
yeah.
Or perhaps I could fire a gas grenade to poison enemies before detonating the cloud with an explosive shot for massive damage.
Wait, so
If
sick.
you want to call in some suppressing fire, you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum range, so you'll want to prepare your position carefully before moving in. There are 22 active skills for crossbows.
Okay.
In game, you'll be calling destruction down from the sky as you litter
What
the battlefield
the
with grenades
hell?
and pepper your enemies with your automatic shotgun. If you're looking to take a back seat and let your minions do the work, then the Witch should be your choice. She
Okay.
can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her,
Is
while
it gender
casting
locked?
powerful chaos spells that debilitate her enemies.
I love the calling
Occult
forth hordes
skills
of
are some of
shit.
the most varied in the game, with skeletons, noxious spells, specialty minions,
Tough
curses, and
gameplay.
sacrificial.
Oh, you. It is? Okay.
Before we talk about minions,
Blitz,
we'll have to
baby.
talk about a new resource in Path of Exile 2 called Spirit. This
I
is
like
a
the
spirit
warrior
gem, which
and
allows
the
you
witch.
to pick from a range of
What is this?
persistent skills. All classes have a variety of these skills which can add some very interesting effects, like Arctic Armor, which does cold damage to enemies that hit you, or Raging Spirits, which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a fire spell.
Ooh.
For the Witch, though, we'll want to be using our Spirit to create permanent minions. These minions will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time.
Nice. Okay, so we
Here,
like
I'm
the
using
warrior
skill
and
screen
the
to
witch.
allocate which minions I would like in my horde. You can see the spirit cost of each one.
Oh,
Skeletal
shit.
warriors
Here,
are
guys,
cheap
I'll hide
but
here.
weak,
There
useful
you
for
go, guys.
tanking damage and distracting enemies. But I want more heavy hitters in my army, so I'm going to unsummon some warriors and instead add skeletal arsonists. Permanent minions come with special active abilities called command skills.
I
You
don't
can
know
order
if
these
I
guys
wanna...
to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If
Some
you want
of you
a bigger
may
army,
die,
you'll need a scepter.
but that is a
This new
sacrifice I
weapon
am
type is
willing to
imbued
make.
with even more spirit, allowing you to summon even more friends. And if you want an even bigger army than that, you can take advantage of corpses to summon true hordes of minions. But what can a witch do while her army is at work? Well, she has a range of chaos spells to spread disease amongst your enemies, or bone skills to impale them. Or, you know, you could curse them to make them weaker so your
I
horde can
liked
take them
warrior
down.
more than this, if I'm being honest.
There are 25 active occult skills. By the endgame, you will be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in its path. The sorceress bends the elements to her will, using
Alright,
them
let's
to
see
unleash
this.
devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental magic from afar.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
The
yeah.
elemental skills have everything you might expect and more. Fireballs, icy explosions, lightning storms, you get the idea. Each spell
That's my
is unique
shit.
and has many different ways to build and combo with others, even between different elements. For example, Flame Wall conjures a burning line that not only damages enemies, but also empowers all projectiles that pass through it. If you place a wall and fire lightning sparks through it, they'll gain extra fire damage. It's a good idea to take advantage of the ability to automatically swap weapons when you use certain skills. Having a special staff with bonuses to fire skills and another with bonuses to
Honestly,
lightning
maybe
skills can
Witch is
really
better.
power up
I
a
don't
combo
know.
like this.
Not the witch.
The
Now that I'm
sorceress can
thinking about
also
it,
take
it's kinda
advantage
cool.
of powerful trigger gems. For example, you could grab the Cast and Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a Firestorm will automatically be cast at the enemy that was ignited. There are
Yeah, the
25
graphics are so
active
good.
elemental skills. By endgame, you'll be firing off projectiles left and right as you rain down elemental storms on your foes.
I don't know, the witch looks
Those are the
cooler than
characters
this
that will be
was.
available at the start of early access, but we will be adding 6 more character classes with just as many skills and
Okay,
options
so
as
if I had to
these.
pick one of those, it's either
There's
the
a
witch
lot
or the
more to
warrior.
come.
I'm gonna be honest, it's
There's
either the
one
witch
more
or the
important
warrior,
thing
guys.
to mention about skills. Even though we talk about them as belong to each class,
I
in
don't
reality
know.
there are no restrictions. You can use all these skills on any class so long as you
Wait.
have the attributes.
Huh?
For example, a poison ranger might want to try out using occult curses to increase her poison damage. Or a monk might want to trigger elemental ice walls to use with his glacial cascade combo. The possibilities for cross-class combos are practically unlimited. We're looking forward to what kind of things you guys might find. Now, Path of Exile is a game known for build customization, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible yet. So let's talk about support gems. Path of Exile 2 has a system of support gems that can be combined with your active skills to dramatically change the way they work. If you find a support gem, then right-clicking it will open up this screen. Here you will find a variety of recommended support gems for each of your skills that you can pick between. For example, this is a multiple projectiles support gem and can be used to add multiple projectiles to any skill. Normally, when you fire a grenade, it'll look like this.
Tricks, I'll
But
get
if we
you
add
after
multiple
this, okay, buddy?
projectiles, then you get 3 of them. Once you have the gem, you can also freely move it between any of the skills in your character. If you want to have a multi-shot sniper rifle instead, then simply move the gem over to your high-velocity round skill. Generally speaking, if it sounds like a support gem should work with a skill, then it will work. So it's a good idea to experiment. Note that you can only have one of each support gem on your character, so you'll want to think carefully about which supports can be used best with each skill for maximum damage.
Thanks for the resubs, guys. I
Now,
appreciate
if
you.
you want to stick to the recommendations, you should have a perfectly good time.
Tease,
But if
3
you want to
months.
experiment a bit more, then
Soul
uncheck that
Primus,
recommended button
3 months.
and you can
Thank
see
you
the
so much,
full
guys.
list of supports that will work with your skill.
Bro,
There
what
are
the
hundreds
fuck?
of support gems to choose from, and even we don't know the results of all the possible ways these can interact. Each skill can have up to 5 supports socketed
devs
into
are
it,
like,
and if you're
"I'm
clever,
fucking
you can
done."
come up with some pretty interesting ideas. Now, all of this is just scratching the surface. You can make frost vortexes, break people's armor, make minions explode, make skills repeat,
I don't know, the warriors seem kind of cool, guys.
enemies set each other on fire, cull enemies, or
Wait,
pin
can the
them to the
warrior
ground.
use a hammer?
Supports let you drastically change the behavior of your skills and create your own unique build, or at least follow someone's OP build guide. So, speaking of builds,
You
let's talk
should?
about one of the most iconic Path of Exile systems, the passive skill tree.
What in the...
Yes, it's huge.
Am I looking
There
at
are
a,
over 1,500 nodes on
at
there.
a constellation
Now, a
of the
lot of
night
people
sky?
open the tree and can get a little intimidated at first, but try not to be
A
scared.
little?
There are lots of options, but at its core, it's pretty simple.
Oh, yeah.
Each level, you
Real
get 1 point
simple.
to put into the tree. Each class starts at a different
I play
location,
Ashes
but they
of
all
Creation.
share the same tree.
I'm gonna need you to dumb it down
Around your
to like
section
a
of the tree, you'll
grade
relevant
level.
bonuses for your character. You should be safe in the knowledge that there aren't many wrong choices here. Almost all the starting nodes will be useful for your character in some way. But if you do happen to make a choice you regret, you'll be able to respec any nodes you've taken by spending a little bit of gold.
Have you thought about making it pay to win
The tree
to
is
reset
generally
it?
divided up into clusters which have similar themes. In each cluster you will find small nodes that give simple bonuses like increased damage, but the real power comes from notables. Notables normally have much more interesting bonuses, and they tend to care a lot more about how your build works and what skills you're using. For example, in the mercenary area of the tree, this one gives a 25% chance for crossbow skills to not consume a bolt. And here's one that gives grenades a chance to blow up a second time.
Oh shit.
This one gives a chance for projectiles to rebound off terrain, as well as giving you some pierce chance to make that more likely. Note that even though this is in the mercenary section, this would work with projectiles from all classes, so there are often reasons to go to different areas of the tree. In order to get between these clusters, you will generally have to allocate nodes in the attribute highways. Attribute nodes allow you to pick which attribute you would like to use, so it's very easy to get points for any attribute.
So you need to go down the main thoroughfare first.
You can change which attribute these nodes give you for half price at the respec vendor. In addition to notables, you will also find even larger passives called keystones. Keystones have both an upside and a downside, and often require changing your entire build to design around them. A great example is Giant's Blood, which allows you to wield two-hand weapons in a single hand, but doubles the attribute requirements of them.
Max life 1?
You can use a two-hand mace with a shield, or even dual wield them.
Oh shit!
Or how about Mind Over Matter, which makes all damage go to your mana pool first before your life pool, but you lose 50% of your mana regen. Skills like these can be tough to build around, but if you're up for the challenge, they can be very rewarding.
Sauron Simulator.
As we showed you earlier on the Sorceress, you can swap between weapon sets on the fly as you use certain skills.
Wait, what?
One of the new features in Path of Exile 2's passive tree is that you can choose to have your passive tree change as you switch between weapon sets to take advantage of specific bonuses on the tree. For the Sorceress, you might want to change between fire and lightning specialization.
Oh, that's
or you
so
could switch
good.
between one hand and a two-hand setup in order to be able to block boss attacks while following up with heavy hits from your bigger mace.
So am I gonna have to every time I swap
you
weapons?
could have a full curse setup on your witch to debuff enemies before switching to a chaos degen build for maximum damage.
Thank God, we can't even get gear presets in BDO,
If you want to stick with just one weapon set, you can just use these specialization points as bonus points to invest however you like. But creative players will find plenty of opportunities with this system.
Nice.
You can get weapon specialization points throughout the campaign from optional bosses and quests. For example, if I manage to defeat the Crowbell, I'll get a weapon specialization book. There are lots of other permanent boosts available from the campaign too. On the map, you can see icons that indicate the many optional encounters you can find. Some of them have permanent character boosts, and others have powerful items. If you're having trouble getting past a boss, it might be a good idea to explore and see what you can find. For example, if you defeat Blackjaw the Remnant, you'll gain a permanent increase to fire resistance.
Oh my
One of the
God.
most important finds are spirit bonuses. You can find the first one here in the canopy in Act 1. Defeat the boss in this area to acquire a permanent addition of spirit. The permanent buffs you gain from spirit are very powerful, and every class will find a use for them, so make sure you hunt down these upgrades.
Oh, that's
There's one
really
in each
cool.
act.
It encourages you
We
to go
haven't even
out and
talked
get
about the most important
explore
element
and
of
stuff.
character progression, items. That's why we're all here, right? Items in Path of Exile can be broken down into 4 rarity groups: normal, magic, rare, and unique. One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items.
Oh, this looks
An Orb
so
of Transmutation
cool, guys.
will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic item with 1 mod. You can then apply an Orb of Augmentation to add a 2nd mod, then use a Regal Orb to add a 3rd mod, and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some Exalted Orbs to add more mods to your rare to a total of 6 mods. One of the things we think is really important is to make these options available to use as you play.
Yes,
All the
there is a
items that have
Druid.
mods are
It's not
much
coming
more
out
common than they were
on
in
early
Path of
access,
Exile
though.
1, so that you can use them throughout your campaign playthrough. We want you to find things on the ground that can be crafted into upgrades much more frequently. As well as making the drop rates on these items much more common, you can also get them by disenchanting unwanted gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an Orb of Transmutation, and by disenchanting rares, you can build up to Regal Orbs. Another important area of crafting items in PoE 2 is sockets. Some items you find will have sockets that can have Ezomite runes placed in them that add more mods to the item. If I insert this glacial rune into my helmet, it will give extra cold resistance. This is a great way to solve problems that you have with your build, like resistances or damage. If you find socketed items that you don't have a use for, you can take them to the salvage bench in town to work towards an artificer's orb. This will allow you to add sockets to your existing items. Body armors and two-hand weapons can have up to 2 sockets, while the rest of your armor and one-hand weapons can only have 1 socket. You can also salvage items with quality to create items like armor scraps or whetstones. These will allow you to increase the quality of your items for an up to 20% boost. If you don't want to disenchant or salvage your items, you can always sell them for gold. Gold can be used to buy items from vendors, and we've tried to do a lot to make sure that the items they have for sale are actually useful. Every time you level up, they get more stock, so make sure to check back often. Other vendors offer a gamble. Pay a flat amount of gold and you'll get a random item of a specific type. This could be a great way to improve your gear, if you're lucky. Gold is also used to respec your passive skills. Take advantage of this system to experiment with your tree and rework it as required. The other thing you might want to use gold for is the currency exchange. This allows you to exchange currency items with other players on an open market, in exchange for a small gold fee. Now, all items in Path of Exile are freely tradable. We never bind anything to your character, except gold.
Oh, so is RMT a problem? There's no way that RMT isn't a problem then.
But there's another type that isn't. Uniques. They are especially rare, each with a handcrafted set of unusual mods which can dramatically change a character's build. They're not just better rare items, they can do much stranger things that can fundamentally change your character. Corpse Wade will make any corpses you run through explode into clouds of poison. The Sands of Silk is a body armor that changes your dodge roll into a blink, morphing you into sand as you teleport past your foes.
Oh my god!
And of course, some uniques are just pure hits of dopamine, like Quill Rain, which just turns your bow attacks into full auto by doubling your attack speed. Each unique is something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use at endgame, even if you find them early on. And as you can see, every single unique item comes with custom art to match.
My queen.
The last character progression system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension. Starting in Act 2, you will come across Ascension trials, tests that you must complete to unlock your Ascension class. We'll explain these trials soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character. Each class has access to 3 Ascendancy classes, but at the start of Early Access, only 2 per class will be available. Ascendancy classes are unique to each character class, so choose wisely. They can drastically affect how you build your character. As a sorceress, you could become a Storm Weaver, a master of the elements.
Okay.
Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell. With Strike twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage, and going deeper into the tree, you can make all your damage types apply Shock. Make a Shock build from any skill. Alternatively, you could become a Chronomancer and command time itself.
Okay.
She literally has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze. Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns and cast all her spells again. On the Warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer channels the might of his ancestors to gain tremendous power. Using Answered Call, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to each of your totems. With Jade Heritage, you can encase your body in a protective layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks. Warcaller's Bellow allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies. And with Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldowns of your war cries. Let all that anger out. The Titan class is all about hitting big. With Earthbreaker, every slam is a chance to create an aftershock.
That's my shit right here.
With Crushing Impacts, every hit becomes a crushing blow, which will allow you to stun your enemies with ease. With Surprising Strength, you can take advantage of stunned enemies to deal 40% more damage. As a ranger, you might choose to be a Deadeye, an expert markswoman who can take down foes with style. With Endless Munitions, every attack gains an extra projectile. With Gathering Winds, she gains a small increase to movement speed with every attack, but be careful, she loses them when getting hit. With Eagle Eyes, she will never miss, allowing you to stop wasting all those passive points on accuracy. Alternatively, you could become a Pathfinder, the master of flasks and poison. She can choose from one of several throwable concoctions, allowing her to spend her flask charges to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage. A bleeding concoction will make your enemies bleed, while a fulminating one can shock your enemies, allowing you to do extra damage.
Ranger is just not my thing.
Contagious Contamination allows her to spread poisons between her foes, while overwhelming toxicity doubles the number of stacks they can be infected by. Running Assault allows her to move much more quickly while firing, while Relentless Pursuit makes her totally immune to being slowed by enemies.
Ruined Ranger for me in every game ever.
The Witch can ascend into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage.
Okay, here we go.
As an Infernalist, she can summon a loyal Hellhound companion. The Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets hit. With Pyromantic Pact, you can turn your mana into Infernal Flame. As you cast more spells, the flame builds up, and if it overflows, you'll take damage. Using Bringer of Flame, you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up. While your Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies. She can also transform into a literal demon. While in demon form, she takes an increasing amount of damage. But her cast speed and damage increase rapidly as well. So if you're planning on transforming into a demon, make sure you stack a lot of life recovery.
Yep.
She can also become a Blood Mage, a master of life and energy. All Blood Mages must pay the price of making skills cost life as well as mana. But in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly gain back that life. With Crimson Power, she can gain large amounts of extra life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life back as well. Once you've got a significant amount of life, you can use Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage. A monk who is in tune with the elements might become an Invoker. With Elemental Expression, the Invoker will create waves of elemental power each time he does a critical strike. With Faith as a choice, you gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield. Choose between I Am the Blizzard or I Am the Thunder to specialize in cold or lightning. And I Shall Rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar. Each time you apply a status ailment to an enemy, you gain Unbound Fury. When you have enough, transform into an avatar to deal way more damage and inflict even more elemental ailments. Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead. The Acolyte of Chayula can exchange their mastery of spirit for darkness, a resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal damage. The Shroud of Darkness will protect you from all damage incoming, but if you take Grasp of the Void, you will deal extra chaos damage from all the darkness you have. Their Dark Pact offers greatly increased resistances to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only happen instantly, but apply to their energy shield as well. Another node you can take is Waking Dream, which allows you to see into the domain of the Breach Demons. There you will see the Flames of Chayula that can be taken to gain life, mana, and damage.
Some Dormammu level shit here.
The Mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you? You might choose to become a Witch Hunter. Obsessive Rituals will give you a sorcery ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in exchange for less defense against attacks. With Zealous Inquisition, your enemies have a 10% chance to explode on death. The chance is doubled against demons and undead. With Judge, Jury, and Executioner, your initial hit against enemies can deal up to 30% of their life and damage, if you're lucky. This is great for hunting powerful bosses. And with Witchbane, you can break your enemy's concentration, preventing them from casting spells as often as they would usually do. You could also choose to become a Gemling Legionnaire, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems directly in your flesh. Integrated Efficiency will give you extra skill slots. Thermatological Infusion gives you extra maximum resistances as you sock up more and more support gems. Adaptive Capability allows you to use any color of gem without worrying about
real men just embed
while
gems
Crystalline
into their
Potential
flesh.
adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socketed into your character. So those are the Ascendancy classes for the start of Early Access. But one thing we haven't talked about yet is how you ascend in the first place. Ascension in Path of Exile 2 requires completion of one of the Great Trials, which you'll find as you progress through the campaign. Each one is associated with one of the major cultures of Rayclast. Located in the Vasteri Plains are the Maraketh, a culture of rich tales and brutal traditions who must do whatever it takes to survive in the desert. The highest position in Mariketh culture is a Sekima, and it is not a title given freely. All aspirants must complete the Trial of the Sekimas, a grueling gauntlet that will test their strength, will, cunning, and patience. To enter, a warrior of the Mariketh must prove their worth by trapping the soul of a djinn in a coin, and you are no different.
Okay.
Once you have earned your coin, it may be placed on the relic altar to begin the trial.
I'm a witch. These
In
are
the
my
Trial of the
simps.
Sekimas, each room has its own challenges to overcome. In this room, each rare monster you kill will send its blood to the chalice in the center of the room. Once the chalice is filled, you will be able to proceed. While fighting monsters in the trial, you will need to be very careful. Each hit will not only hurt you, but will damage your honor. The monsters are well telegraphed, so that you
That's
can
okay, I'm
avoid their
dishonorable.
attacks, but if you run out of honor, you will fail the trial and need to find another coin in order to try again. It is a good idea to make sure that you are well prepared before challenging the Trial of the Sekimas.
Neptunes can't even try this, guys. That's crazy.
After each room, you will be rewarded. In this case, you have been given a key that can be used to unlock chests later in the trial. Once you have claimed your reward, you will be shown a map of the rest of the floor and may choose how you wish to proceed. Which challenges would you like to face, and which rewards do you want to claim? Some rooms are more dangerous, afflicting you with debuffs that will persist for the entire trial.
It's so
For
hype. I'm
example,
gonna play so much of
entering
this.
this room will afflict you with
I'm
a
so
spiked
cooked.
shell that will cause all monsters in the rest of the trial to have 50% increased
It's so
life.
complex,
You will want to
dude.
take care if you choose such a path. There are many different challenges and rewards as you journey through the trial. Deadly traps, waves of monsters, and strange artifacts will test your honor. As you progress, you'll be able to gain boons from the djinn, which will help you on your journey. For example, the Sekima's cloak will revive you once if you die, giving you a second shot at a run. One of the rewards you may find is sacred water, an extremely valuable and treasured resource to the djinn and the Mariketh. Trading it with the djinn will allow you to receive many benefits. You
Okay.
can recover honor, gain additional boons, or remove afflictions. At the end of the floor, you'll find a powerful boss which will truly test your limitations. In order to ascend, you will need to defeat him. Having defeated the boss, you've earned the right to ascend. But first, the loot. The keys you have found may be used to open the various treasures in the vault at the end of the floor. We only have a single bronze key, so we'll just have to open one of these small chests.
Oh
If you want to
boy.
open the better ones, you'll need silver or gold keys. Let's use the Altar of Ascendancy. Your first ascension will allow you to pick your class and grant you 2 points to use in the
That's
tree.
so hype. No, you picked the
Now,
wrong
there
one.
are more flaws and
We
many
want
more
Demon
rewards that
Mommy.
can be found within the Trial of the Sekimas, but we'll save that for the section on the endgame. For
Come,
now,
my
let's
Sims.
talk about the second Ascendancy trial, the Trial of Chaos. In Path of Exile 2, you can choose whichever trial you like to earn your ascension. Each culture on Rayclast had their own methods to ascend. If the Trial of the Sekimas is not your kind of playstyle, or you're finding it too difficult, you could try another. You can gain all your ascension points from just one, or mix and match them. It's up to you. For early access, we will have 2 trials as options, with a 3rd trial coming later for the full release.
Okay.
While exploring the Vaal jungle, you'll
Wait,
discover
how long
the
is
Temple
early
of Chaos.
access for?
Before the Vaal embraced the science of corruption, their civilization worshipped chaos. This ancient trial was once used by the Vaal to test their high priests. A high priest of the Vaal must show willingness to risk everything to gain power. Entry to the trial requires a token from a strange entity known only as the Trial Master. For those in which he sees potential, he shall inscribe an ultimatum. Many have attempted these trials in search of greatness.
The
Most
next
have
4 years?
perished.
Sorry, that was
Will you
Ashes
be
of
able to defy
Creation?
the
You're-
odds? Before you begin each chamber, the Trial Master will offer you a reward and a choice. Choose one of 3 tribulations to affect you through the rest of the trial. These modifiers might beef up the monsters, curse the player, or add environmental hazards like turrets or trap runes.
6 to
In this
12
case, we'll be
months?
picking shocking turrets.
Early access is 6 to 12 months.
As you enter
What?
the room, the Trial Master will fill it with hazards to test your commitment. In this case, you must
Well,
destroy all the
we're
monsters that fill the
invested.
room, while dealing with the lightning projectiles from the shocking turrets.
They said Druid's gonna come out, right? We're gonna get Druid too? I kinda wanted to look at Druid. already bought it on Steam. It's so cooked, guys. We're so in. Crazy.
After each room, you will need to make a choice. Take the rewards you have earned so far,
Slime on
or go
December
double or
6th, I
nothing.
think, early
Increase
access.
your rewards, but take on more risk. Each tribulation you add is minor on its own, but they quickly stack on top of each other and can become overwhelming. There are many types of chambers in the trial. Each will test your resolve in different ways. This
are there
one simply
puzzles and
requires you
stuff?
survive for a certain amount of time.
Oh my god.
Another requires you to escort the stone idol through the level as elevators full of monsters descend to attack you.
Yeah? Okay, good.
Should you be able to get through the first 3 chambers, you will face your first boss. The order of the bosses is random, and combined with the
What a
tribulations
crazy
you have
looking
selected,
boss.
the fight will never feel the same. After defeating the boss, you may claim your rewards. Of course, there are the items, but you also gain the right to ascend. If you already did the Trial of the Sekimas, then you can claim 2 more points to add to your Ascendancy class.
Ooh.
Now, it's possible to go much deeper. There are more bosses, rewards, and risks to take, but we'll talk more about that when we get to Endgame. So how about we talk about that now?
Oh boy.
So far, we've only been showing you footage from the campaign, but some people would argue that the Endgame is where the game truly begins. Something that happens
100
almost
hours
every
in.
time a new action RPG launches is people saying, there isn't enough in-game content. Well, we want to make sure that in PoE 2, people don't feel that way. And we actually only changed our development priority for this recently. The first 3 acts of PoE 2 already take around 25 hours to complete if you're a new player. This is already a pretty significant
Really?
campaign. On the other hand, people spend hundreds of hours in endgame each league. We realized that finishing the rest of the campaign for early access was actually a bad idea. Instead of having acts 4 to 6 in early access, we could concentrate on endgame and make that great. For new players, a 25-hour campaign is already a huge game with lots of content. But for existing action RPG players, what you mostly care about is all the endgame challenges to overcome. So several months ago, we switched the entire development team's focus over to making endgame content. At the
Thank
start
God.
of early access, there will be
Less
50
story,
bosses
more
and
playing.
around 400 monster types. But the great thing is that the rest of the game is like 80% there. We'll be adding content to roughly double the size of the game during early access and into release. Now, in order to make the endgame happen at the same character level as what it would be after we added the rest of the acts, we've added a second difficulty level called Cruel, where you repeat the campaign with all the monsters and bosses leveled up. And of course, new rewards. You can kind of think of it as like a new game plus. It's also a lot faster to get through the content the second time as your clear speed increases. That will take you to around level 65, where the endgame begins.
Okay,
Once
that
we
makes
add
it
the
easy.
remaining 3 acts, we'll be removing Cruel difficulty, so you'll progress straight from the end of Act 6 to endgame. But
Okay.
what is the endgame? To explain that, I'll hand over to Mark. He can tell you all about it.
Here we go, boys.
Hi, I'm
Hello, Mark.
Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, one thing that Path of Exile is known for is having a lot of distinct endgame content to choose between. Each endgame mechanic needs to have its own progression system,
Hi, Mark.
areas,
Hi.
bosses, rewards, and player power that can only be gained from that content.
Okay.
We are going to be adding a lot more over time, but for Path of Exile 2, we decided to start with 7 distinct systems you can progress through.
This is the Atlas, and it serves as the core of the endgame for Path of Exile 2.
Hi, Mark. Everybody
It's
wave hi to Mark.
infinite and expands in all directions.
What the fuck?
Now, we are not going to spoil the plot too much here, but corruption from the beast has blighted the land, and your objective is to help fight it. In the center of the Atlas, you will find the Ziggurat, a temple in which the Val
What'd you just
research
call
the
me?
fundamentals of space and time. Here, we can open portals to nearby locations and begin cleansing corruption and finding resources. In order to power the portal device, we will need waystones.
That's
Each
my witch
waystone
mommy.
has a tier, which will determine the level of the monsters that you will face. To go to an area, simply click one that is adjacent to an area that you have already completed. Insert the waystone and click Traverse. Portals will open, allowing you and your party to travel to the area you have selected.
Whoa!
All the areas in the endgame feel distinct from the locations in the campaign, and we have dialed the randomization up to 11.
Thank God,
the monster
dude.
packs you will face in each map are totally random.
The problem with these
combination of
games
them
is
can
that they
lead
always
to some
feel
very
repetitive.
interesting combat situations.
As long as it looks
There
different
are
every
over
time, it'll be so
400
much
monster
better.
types in early access, and they have a lot of varied and interesting abilities. Depending on which combinations
Warrior
you
looks
face,
so
you
good.
might find some serious challenges. In order to cleanse the corruption from the area,
Mommy!
you will need to defeat all the powerful
The
rare
demon
and
mummy!
unique enemies in it.
That
Once you
looks
have
so
done that,
fun!
the area will be marked as completed and you will be able to travel past it to progress deeper into the world. If you die, then the map can no longer be run, and you will have to find another way around to get to the areas behind it. There are also all kinds of other random encounters you might run into as you play maps. One such encounter are precursor artifacts. These are ancient, corrupting monuments that irradiate the monsters around them. The monsters that feed off the corruption are drawn to their power. If you defeat the monsters and cleanse the artifact, you will get a powerful temporary buff. Some of the buffs make you faster, others rain lightning or fire around you, and some even give you increased experience or help you find better items. You can also find strong boxes. These enigmatic chests guard piles of treasure, but are always a trap. Monsters lie in wait to attack you the moment you open it, and the boxes often have mechanisms to unleash powerful spells or dangerous debuffs. There are different types of strong boxes containing different items, and you can even use your currency items to craft them on the fly, so you can optimize the contents.
Yeah, you do.
Be careful of opening one you can't handle. Sometimes you'll discover monsters frozen in essences, solidified crystalline corruption. These dangerous monsters can be broken free. If you defeat them, the essence they drop can be used to upgrade normal items to magic items with a guaranteed mod from a category. For example, we could use this one on some boots to ensure a movement speed mod.
This is so cool.
Rarely, essences will
I
also
love how
drop that allow you to
complex
upgrade
and
magics to
unique
rares,
everything
adding
looks.
the guaranteed mod.
This is so sick. It's so refreshingly unique, dude.
This is incredibly powerful since it allows you to get a second deterministic mod in your crafting projects. Combining these with the currencies that are commonly found in Rayclast for modifying items, and we can get a very nice pair of boots indeed. Waystones, like all items, can also be crafted using your currency items.
Oh, look at the
Adding
belly on
prefix
that
mods will
pig.
improve the rewards,
It's almost as
while
big as
suffix
mine.
mods increase danger. The more dangerous a map is,
Oh God,
the
look how
more
nasty it
waystones
looks.
will drop. Adding mods to your waystones is key to progressing to higher tiers and sustaining them, but it will require you to take on larger challenges. There are
if
a
you
variety
die,
of factors
are
you
you
have
punished?
to consider when crafting your waystones. Some maps will have higher density, some lower, some have more magic and rare chests, or monsters,
What do you
some
lose
are more
when you
linear,
die?
and others more open. Make sure you explore and think about what makes certain maps good if you want to maximize your returns.
You lose the XP?
As you cleanse corruption from
10%?
higher and higher tiers of the Atlas, you will gain points that you can spend in the Atlas tree.
Oh, 10%
This
of your
tree
current
allows
level,
you
oh,
to
thank
juice
God.
the danger and rewards of all areas in the endgame.
You're level 65, you
could
just lose
increase
the
the
level.
number of monsters,
What?
the number of rares, the number of precursor artifacts or strong boxes, even the quantity of item drops. As you explore the endgame world map, you'll notice various different biomes.
How big that-
From snow-capped mountains to dense jungle valleys.
Biomes,
Most maps are
okay.
restricted to certain
Yeah.
biomes.
Careful
As
with the
you continue
biome
to
word.
explore deeper into the Atlas, there
Oh
are
my
all
God.
sorts of things to
How
discover.
big is this
These
shit?
cities are constructed by different peoples of Rayclast and have specific items that can be found there. These strange structures marked on the map don't appear to do anything for now. Perhaps you'll work out how to use them later. You might find unique maps like Untainted Paradise, an undisturbed island full of
That's
beasts
my
that give an
character.
extreme amount of
That's my
experience.
class.
You may even find a lonely man just enjoying his retirement who will give you a unique item for free. In addition, you can find special areas that would make a good spot to set up camp. Clear these areas of their hostile inhabitants, and you'll be able to claim them as your own hideout. You can decorate your hideout as you see fit, and invite various NPCs to join you there to create your own
I love
personal
it.
base of operations.
Look at the skulls, dude. That's so
A great
cool.
tool for exploration are towers. These mysterious precursor constructs are dotted around the Atlas. Completing the tower will reveal a large area around it, allowing you to scout out your next challenge. There are lots of things to find, so keep looking.
Oh my God.
Some sections of your
It's like a
Atlas are
Civ
influenced
6
by
game.
corruption. This adds extra modifiers to the maps in the region, increasing difficulty and rewards. Here, slaying monsters in close proximity to each other will cause the vestiges of corruption within them to merge together, forming powerful and grotesque abominations. You may have noticed while looking at the atlas that some of the areas have these icons above them. The icon indicates that the area contains some kind of special encounter. This icon indicates that the area has a powerful boss. Because only 1 in 4 maps contain a map boss, we are able to make them very powerful and very rewarding. These bosses come from the campaign, but have had their difficulty increased with changes to AI and some of their abilities. It's worth noting that because you can see where the bosses are, you can choose to take them on or avoid them. If you do choose to hunt bosses though, then you will be rewarded with special points for the boss hunting section of the Atlas skill tree. The points here will allow you to specialize in boss killing, giving you much greater rewards for defeating them. For each different type of content in the endgame, we are adding specialized trees in order to make it so you don't feel the need to respec your points when you change between different types of content. We will be showing you 7 of these by the end of this presentation, so there is still a lot more to come. Bosses are not the only icon you will see on the Atlas. Let's take a look at one of the endgame systems, Breach. If you played PoE 1, you might be familiar with Breach. For PoE 2, we have created sequels to several PoE 1 leagues. While the mechanic is familiar, the monsters, bosses, rewards, and progression are all new. A breach is a tear in the fabric of reality. Opening it will allow you to see the demons and otherworldly monstrosities that lie in wait on this other plane of existence. By engaging with a breach, you'll create a bridge between their world and Rayclast. In order to keep the breach open, you will need to kill the demons that pour forth. The faster you can kill the monsters, the more monsters you will fight, and the more loot you will find. You can also find clasped hands that will open and drop more items if you run over them. These can be a good boost to the rewards of the breach, so keep an eye out. One of the rewards that you may find while fighting monsters from Breach are tablets.
The big pack.
Tablets are special items that can be used with precursor towers to add more encounters to the Atlas. Breaches will drop Breach tablets.
Big pack.
Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower. This makes all the content in the Atlas self-sustaining. Want to do more breaches? Find the tablets, add them to your towers, get more breaches, getting more tablets. Soon your Atlas will be covered in otherworldly domains.
Alright, well.
In addition, like all items in PoE, you can craft them. Use your currency to add mods to your tablets, allowing you to upgrade all the breaches in range. Tablets can have up to 2 mods. These mods do things like adding extra rare monsters, extra clasped hands, or even mods to density of breaches, allowing you to keep them open longer. Often you will find multiple towers near to each other with overlapping areas of effect. This can allow you to really juice the mechanic by stacking the mods from multiple tablets.
This is live.
In your fight to hold the breach demons at bay, you may want to use the powers of their world against them. Each in-game mechanic always has player power that can only be gained from that mechanic, and Breach is no different. In Breach, you will find catalysts, items that can increase the quality of rings and amulets by improving specific mobs. You can also find Breach Rings, a special base type that can have its quality improved by catalysts up to 50%. In this case, you could create a ring with around 170 life. Breach Rings can become some of the strongest rings in the game, giving you some good motivation to face the demon hordes. In addition, each endgame mechanic needs to have a pinnacle endgame encounter. While killing Breach monsters, you may find Breach Splinters. Collect enough of these and you'll be able to create a Breach Stone. Using a Vaal technology called the Realm Gate, you can use your Breach Stone to access their domain and bring the fight to them. In this twisted domain, you will find nothing but a single massive breach. Triggering it will reveal hordes of Breach inhabitants. And should you be fast enough, you will be able to fight their leader, Zesht. We that are one.
We that dreamed. We in nightmare. We that
Oh, look at the hands! Oh, it's so freaky! Oh, it's so freaky! What is that, bro?
This is just one of the pinnacle encounters of PoE 2. We won't be showing the rest of them, so you will have to discover them for yourself. But rest assured, this is some of the hardest content we have ever made. All these encounters have specific uniques that can only be found from them, but that's not all. We still have the progression system. Defeating Zesht will give you points to allocate into the breach section of the Atlas tree. Allocating these points will make breaches and the breach domain even harder, but will give you more rewards. The small nodes will increase the difficulty of the twisted domain, while the large nodes have more specific bonuses. For example, this node adds more clasped hands to your breaches, and adds a pack of magic monsters that can guard them. Get some more points and you can allocate Waking Nightmare, which will double the number of splinters you get from clasped hands, and inflict you with a mysterious debuff. In order to earn more points, you will need to defeat Zesht at a higher difficulty, and some rewards from Zesht can only be found by increasing the difficulty of the Twisted Domain above certain thresholds. Defeating Zesht at difficulty 4 will be a challenge indeed, but there are many more threats in raid past.
What? That's just one
Ritual altars are sacrificial sites built by the mysterious King in the Mists. If you encounter this symbol on the Atlas, then you know that the area contains ritual altars. Ritual altars demand tribute. Every monster you slaughter in the circle will feed the altar. After the sacrifice, touch it to begin the ritual. The monsters you just killed will be resurrected by the King of the Mist's dark magic.
Oh my god, look at that! Oh god! The blood wave? That's disgusting.
The tribute you have offered to the altar can be spent to buy powerful items, but they can be expensive. To gain more tribute, you will want to find more altars. Each successive ritual you do within an area will spawn the monsters revived by the previous ones, in addition to the ones you sacrifice next to it. By the end of an area, you will be fighting a truly imposing number of foes, but will have a significant amount of tribute to spend. One of the rewards you can buy with tribute are omens. These are special items that allow for meta crafting. Crafting items that affect other crafting items. Have an item with good prefixes but bad suffixes? This omen will help you to remove the mod you don't want while keeping the ones you do. There are a bunch more of these with different effects, but we will leave them for you to discover. Now don't forget that Ritual will also drop tablets, which can be used to specialize into getting more rituals. If you want to get to the pinnacle boss of Ritual, then you will probably want to use them. They can also be crafted to grant mods, making your rituals more rewarding. The pinnacle encounter of Ritual is the King in the Mists. Feared by the Azmeri people, he is said to have brought eternal darkness to the Wildwood. We won't show the encounter, but just like Breach, there are a range of unique items you can get for defeating him, and you will gain points in the Ritual section of the Atlas tree. Some maps have been touched by insanity. A mysterious entity has taken a special interest in you. Step through the looking glass and you will find your nightmares coming to life. When you touch a mirror, the mists of delirium will spread out across the area, infecting your mind. You must stay within the mist to maintain the nightmare, which is as profitable as it is terrifying. Everything you kill will increase the rewards that drop. However, the deeper into the mist you travel, the stronger the monsters are. Be careful not to overstay your welcome. Rare and unique enemies will become vessels for terrifying demons, who will manifest out of them to unleash powerful attacks on you. The mist also offers a strange crafting material, distilled emotions. By combining these emotions, you are able to instill your amulet with a notable from the passive skill tree. This is like gaining an extra passive point for free, attached to your gear. They are also particularly great because you don't have to traverse the tree to get them, allowing you to get off-class bonuses that would normally be much harder to get. Distilled emotions can also be used to instill your endgame maps, applying Delirious to them and adding additional difficulty and rewards, allowing you to further juice your endgame maps. The tablets you can find from Delirium can be used to further improve it, increase pack size, make the fog dissipate slower, or improve your progress towards the pinnacle encounter of Delirium. Speaking of which, every now and then you will find simulacrum splinters. The mysterious entity will create strange encounters based on warped versions of your own memories. Monsters and simulacrums come in waves that get progressively more difficult. You will receive loot at the end of each wave, and you will have to make the decision to leave now or continue on, facing up against even tougher foes from the mist. The bosses you will face as you get deeper into a simulacrum are truly terrifying. If you can complete a simulacrum, you will gain points for the Delirium section of the Atlas skill tree.
Bro, each boss's name is so badass.
Next up, we have Expedition. Occasionally, while clearing corruption, you will encounter these Kalguran settlers. The Kalgurans have discovered ancient burial sites with lost Verisium artifacts, and they want you to help dig them up with explosives. The Kalgurans have marked the locations where the relics can be found. Place explosives as best you can to dig up as many as possible.
We're gonna
There
go
is
fishing
just
with
one
grenades.
problem. Corruption has brought the corpses of their ancestors to life, so you might have to do a little cleanup before you can reclaim the artifacts. You can also find remnants, the destruction of which will further anger the restless dead. Each one you blow up will make the subsequent monsters more powerful, but also more rewarding. Danig, Rog, Tujin, and Gwenin will exchange the artifacts for useful items and runic magic. You can also find tablets to increase the number of expeditions and the rewards. This one increases the radius of explosives, while this one increases the number of remnants you will find. Eventually, you might discover a logbook. These are special maps full of buried treasure and relics. Essentially, one giant dig site. Here, you can create an extremely long chain of explosives.
How many people can you play with at a
go
time?
through a very high number of
How many people can be in a party with you?
Be careful. Many remnants have mods that can really brick your build, so you will probably want to avoid these ones. If you add too many remnants, you could easily make the encounter harder than you can handle.
So you can play
there are all
6
sorts of
total, 5
interesting
other
things
people.
buried under the ground in logbooks. You might find dripping caves,
Hey,
and
that's
hidden
my
pirate
class.
caches. But the most powerful encounter is Olroth, the ancient undead commander of the Knights of the Sun. Defeating
minute,
him
what?
will grant you unique rewards, as well as points to spend in the expedition section of the Atlas tree. So those are the in-game systems on the Atlas,
Andromeda
but we are
Galaxy.
not done yet. The trials we talked about earlier have much more content when you get to Endgame 2. Just like the other Endgame systems, they also have progression mechanics, unique rewards, and player power that
80%
can
of the game
only
is
be
solo?
gained from them.
Well, yeah, that's just like
As you get
BDO.
higher level coins
So
for
you
the trial
grind
of the
so that you can do the
Sycamores,
group
you will
content,
unlock
right?
more floors
It's like
to
BDO.
explore.
It's exactly like BDO.
Each floor has its own challenging rooms and a floor boss that you will need to kill.
I've never played in a party.
There
Again,
are 4 floors
BDO.
in total, leading to another pinnacle boss at the end of the last floor, which can only be accessed at endgame. The trial
Verb
of the
equals money,
Sycamores is
single
where
equals
you'll find
friendless.
jewels, which you can socket into your tree. These are like passives that you can craft with your currency items. They can be really powerful as they allow you to stack modifiers
You
that
don't
may
play
not
in
be
groups,
easily
but you
accessible on the
can
tree normally.
if you
this
want
jewel
to.
gives lightning damage and shock chance, for example. There are quite a few jewel sockets on the tree, so it's possible to gain a lot of power here. There are also other types of jewels that don't provide any bonuses themselves, but affect other passive
It
surroundings.
makes it really good for streamers who sometimes just want to play by themselves. PoE would be a great game for me to stream regularly. Just like BDO is. I can play by myself as much as I want, or I can play in a group when I want to too.
But you will have to find those for yourself.
It's really good.
In order to push further into the trial and uncover the secrets of the Maraketh, you will want to take advantage of its progression system, relics. Relics are items that can be placed in the relic altar as you start the trial. They give special bonuses that affect the trial, making it easier and increasing its rewards.
You can have guilds
of
in
course,
PoE?
you can craft these with your currency items, making them even stronger.
Wait, what do the guilds do?
If you can complete the entire trial overcoming
Oh my
all
God,
4
which
floors,
is so hot.
the final boss will reward you with one of many unique relics. These relics will be consumed when used on your next
share
run,
items?
but can reward you with unique and powerful
How many people can be in a guild?
For example, this is the Last Flame. If you use it, you will have only 1 honor for the entire trial, so you will need to do
My
a
queen.
completely hitless
100? All right, boys.
The Trial of Chaos also extends into the endgame. As you gain
We're
inscribed
going full
ultimatums
guild.
of higher and higher levels, the
Hard
number of
mode guild,
chambers that
baby.
you can go through increases. In true Val style, this allows you to take even more risks for even more rewards. At endgame, you can progress through up to 10 chambers with 3 bosses on a single run. Stacking 10 tribulations on top of each other will make this a significant challenge, but it's worth it. The Trial Master
Those are
will tempt you with
Triceratops.
items of the Val Empire, such as Val Orbs. Val Orbs are powerful crafting items that corrupt your gear with random mysterious outcomes. Corruption
Oh, God.
prevents an item from being modified further, so it has to be the last step of your craft. But it's also the most impactful one. For example, if you use one on your
I hate
body
that.
armor, it might add a new powerful
random,
enchantment,
so I
or
gotta
it might
grind
reroll up
forever.
to half of its modifiers.
And then get a
File orbs
shitty
also
roll.
have the ability to add a socket, allowing you to bypass the normal restriction of how many sockets an item can have. A body
That's
armor
cooked.
could get up to 3 sockets this way, allowing for a significant number of mods. File orbs can even modify uniques. Adding enchantments or sockets to uniques can make them incredibly powerful, but there is a good chance that you will break them as well. The Trial Master will also occasionally offer you soul cores. Originally formed by Chaos, the Vaal sought to replicate soul cores through human sacrifice rituals and blood magic to power their civilization. Soul cores are powerful socketable items, with mods that cannot be obtained from regular runes. Like all endgame content, there is of course a pinnacle boss. The final chamber will drop keys to this mysterious door. Some
Okay.
say this is where the Trial Master himself resides. Perhaps you are willing to take the risk to find out. Had enough yet? Because there is still just one more thing.
What
the
the
most difficult
fuck?
content in Path of Exile 2.
Pinnacle
While mapping,
boss.
you might come across this fortress that has emerged from underground, surrounded by an enormous maze riddled with danger. Is the maze preventing something from getting in, or something getting out? This fortress is of ancient origin, and its construction has similarities to the towers and tablets that you have been using on your journey through the endgame. It is clear from the entrance that there are 3 keys required to enter. Local factions are vying for access to the fortress in order to seize the power they believe will be inside. Each of the faction's leaders have managed to get their hands on one of the keys, so you will need to defeat them. Each faction is led by an Uber-Act boss. You can see one of them inhabiting this city, but in order to fight him, you will first need to defeat their 2 lieutenants in the adjacent zones. Be careful, if you fail against either of the lieutenants, or to kill the leader, they will move on, and you will need to find them again. Kill all the Uber bosses and you will gain access to the fortress. We aren't going to spoil it as we can't wait to see you guys attempt it for the first time. But is there a tree you get points in after
Boys, we're
killing
going
it?
in.
Of course there is. This is Path of Exile. There is always another tree.
So these are your challenges for PoE 2.
Another galaxy.
As you can see, this project is crazy huge. Way bigger than even we expected when we started out. But how do you gain access? Well, during early access, you'll need a key to get in.
Oh
To thank
god.
our existing PoE supporters who have spent more than $480, we'll be giving you guys a key for the PC version for free. Anyone else who wants one can get one by purchasing one of the new early access supporter packs that
For
have just
only
been released to the store.
$480, you get it for free.
If you just want early access to PoE 2, then you can get a key in the $30 early access pack. The pack also comes with $30 of points to spend in the MTX store. But we also have a variety of other supporter packs filled with exclusive microtransactions, points to spend in the store, and even physical items. The cosmetics can be used right now in PoE 1 and in Path of Exile 2 when early access starts. Most of this footage has been recorded in Path of Exile 1, since that's where you can use them immediately. The Lord of Ogham supporter pack contains a cosmetic armor set befitting of the Count of Ogham himself. There
this
is
for
also
all
a matching
classes?
back
Or is it
attachment,
just
which
for
has
warrior?
an alternate variant depicting the influence of
Is this
corruption.
just for warrior?
Also in this pack,
Oh?
you can find a portal
Okay.
formed of the rusted armor of the fallen soldiers in the Red Vale of Ogham, and the offspring
Okay.
of a vicious crowbell boss found in the hunting grounds.
Ooh.
This one doesn't look so vicious though.
Look at the Wait, can I change my
On top of
undead?
that, you'll
What my
receive the
undead
Iron
summons
Count's
look like? That would be
Zweihander to
sick.
apply to your one-handed or two-handed swords. For those who are wanting to decorate your hideouts with fond memories and tales of Path of Exile's
Yes.
history, you will also get a series of hideout statues. This pack contains the statue of Hillock. For Path of Exile 1's closed beta, each pack contained a true New Zealand icon, the Kiwi. Following this tradition,
Kiwi.
all packs in this series will also contain a new themed Kiwi pet. The pet will loyally follow you into battle, but run away at the first sign of trouble.
Poggers!
Become the ruler of the desert with the King of the Faradin supporter pack.
Can
Show
I
your
get-
mastery of
Can
traversing
I
the
get a
sands
dog
of the
that follows
Vasteri
me?
plains.
I'd like the
The
dog.
body armor will allow you to glide along the ground with ancient sand magic. Now each armor set comes with body armor, boots, gloves, and helmet, but the boots are covered in sand. If you'd prefer to show them off, you can turn the gliding off if you want.
You gonna
The
get a
accompanying
Labrador
back
in PoE 1?
attachment
I
equips
see.
you with 2 powerful pillars that can control and manipulate lightning. They will periodically release their energy in a powerful blast while in town,
No leg
and
mode.
hover in a circle around you, arcing lightning between them, forming a barrier of energy.
Ooh.
Replace the appearance of any bow with
This
the
is all
Faradin's
just
glory
cosmetic,
skin,
right?
or replace the appearance of a spear with the Tyranny's end spear skin. This spear skin can be applied to staves and war staves in Path of Exile 1.
Yeah, so this is
If you want to truly show your
this is
worth
the
as a
Army
king
of
of the
Death
Farad'n,
from Lord of the
then
Rings.
you definitely
That's
need
the
your
Lich
trusty
King.
moving entire city fortress known as the Dreadnought to travel across the Vasteri Plains.
Ooh, that's
In Path of Exile, you can decorate your hideout
That's
however you like,
incredible.
and it's no exception here. It comes with a variety of
so
thematic
cool.
elements to use, or use decorations from elsewhere in the game. Additionally, you will
It's an
get the
HQ.
Deshret's Blessing level up effect,
Ooh.
the King of the Farad'n Kiwi pet, and last but not least, a statue depicting the Vaal Oversoul from Path of Exile
The
1.
housing. That's so sick.
For those who don't know how supporter packs work, each pack comes with all of the cosmetics from the previous tier, so you'll get all the items from the Lord of Ogham supporter pack as well.
Just show me the
Thaumaturge
500.
of the Vaal supporter pack features
Wait.
an armor set and back
My
attachment
queen?
themed around the Vaal and their pursuit of science and progress. You can find the Soul Core weapon effect in this pack, which causes thaumaturgic energy harnessed from sacrifice to spill from your weapon.
Yeah,
This
so
pack
that's
also contains Doryani's Idol. It replaces the default appearance of any foci to an ancient relic once used by Doryani, and this can be applied to shields in Path of Exile 1. That's not the only Vaal weapon you'll find. It also contains the Wand of the Thaumaturge skin, and the Royal Sacrifice Dagger skin. You wouldn't think to put sacrificial gems on a Kiwi, but the Vaal did. Thaumaturge of the Vaal supporters will receive the Thaumaturge of the Vaal Kiwi pet.
Why did they
And the
go with a
Statue of Dominus.
kiwi? It's so
This is
cooked.
also the first pack in the series with a physical item. When purchasing this pack,
Physical
you'll
item?
receive a Path of Exile 2 logo t-shirt. But if you don't
Mailed
want one,
to you?
can opt out and return for additional points to spend in the store. Becoming a Warlord of the Karui supporter will grant you an armor set and back attachment adorned in jade carvings and iridescent feathers resembling power. Enough to even impress the ancestral gods, specifically Tukohama, the Karui god of war. Overkill, you say? I think the Karui people would disagree. Why not drop a gigantic totem on rare enemies you slay to crush them to a pulp?
That's amazing. Is that just
Replace
for warrior
your crafting
though?
bench in your hideout with the Ancestral Canoe crafting bench, where Ancestral Chief Mata will summon a giant canoe
sick.
manned by Karui warriors to aid in your crafting desires.
We must all start somewhere.
That's
You'll
really
also get a pair
cool.
of weapon skins. Equip Akoya's Felling Axe skin to your one-hand or two-handed axes, or Tukohama's Crusher to your one-handed or two-handed maces.
I'm so cooked, bro.
A true Karui warlord is always accompanied by their trusty Kiwi. Equipped with armor and harnessing ancestral magic, they make the perfect
Look at the
sidekick.
kiwi has like footprints. Look.
Once one of the most feared beings in Rayclast, Malachi was slain by a powerful exile. May the statue commemorate the virtue of
Remy,
exiles past, present,
It's
and of the
wokish.
future.
Everybody's awake now. You're good.
Of course, it's not all about dressing up in game. You'll want to look good in real life too. By becoming a warlord of the Karui
all audio,
supporter,
not
you'll
just the
also
mic,
get
okay.
a Path of Exile 2 hoodie.
Good to know.
Our final tier of supporter pack in this series is the Liberator of Rayclast supporter pack. The Liberator of Rayclast armor set and back attachment come made with the finest materials in Rayclast.
Is this the $500
and shattered
one?
glass mosaics suspended in divine power. Set up your base of operations in the Beacon of Salvation hideout. Why restrict yourself to just one island when you can liberate more? The Beacon of Salvation hideout comes equipped with your own collection of small islands and personal operators of boats that you can use to row between them. Just walk to the piers, click a boat to enter, and navigate as you choose. Decorate each island as you see fit to best represent your well-earned hideout.
I don't like the thing on the
Everyone
back.
in your hideout can use their own
Like
boat.
the thing
Why
flying
not have some
behind you. I don't like
bases?
that.
You can also get the Window
outfit,
to
though,
Twilight
looks
portal
badass.
effect. A beautiful mosaic piece of art that shatters and reveals a gateway to your desired destination as you approach it. As you walk away, the glass magically reforms back to its original form.
Oh, wow.
Rule in style with the Throne of the Ruler map device. Sure, this map device can create portals to endgame maps, but it also comes with a throne you can sit on to oversee your growing kingdom. Look down on the plebeians running your maps.
Based.
Being the Liberator, though, is not just about sitting on your throne all day. If you do decide to join the fight yourself, you can leave a High Priest in charge as your second in command. Liberator of Rayclast supporters will also get a set of varied weapon skins. The Light of Divinity Scepter skin, the Deliverance Crossbow skin, the Justice Flail skin, and the Redemption Shield skin. Once again, you'll have an accompanying Kiwi, and of course a statue depicting one
Well,
of the
I'm
most
looking
iconic
forward
events
to
in
my
Rayclass's history.
$480 skin.
The battle between a powerful Exile and Kitava, the Insatiable. With the help of two deities, Sin and Innocence, the Exile was able to defeat him once and for all. This supporter pack also contains the Path of Exile 2 art book. This 215-page full-color art book includes a huge amount of amazing concept art and lore produced during the long and exciting journey of Path of Exile 2's development. And finally, Path of Exile has a tradition of letting the community participate in designing game features. For Path of Exile 2, we'll be adding the Twilight Order Foil Reliquary. By becoming a Liberator of Rayclass supporter, once Path of Exile 2 is released, you will be able to select any unique item you have found and be able to drop it from the Reliquary. Once players have submitted their items, keys to the Reliquary will start dropping, and other players will be able to find foil versions of uniques that you have submitted along with a message for the lucky player. The more players submit the same unique, the more chances there will be for the Reliquary to drop them, so choose wisely.
Well,
now, almost all of these items are available to use in PoE 1 right now. There are a few exceptions where the item class clearly doesn't exist, such as crossbows or flails.
Players
and there are also a few
created
microtransactions on weapon
That's
types that
amazing.
are unavailable in PoE 2 at the start of early access. Once classes that use those weapon types are added, those microtransactions will be available to use. If you can't decide which supporter pack to choose yet, you can always start with the early access supporter pack that just includes a key and some points to spend in the store. Then you can upgrade to any of the following tiers at a later date. These supporter packs will be available for purchase throughout early access. We'd really like to thank you for your ongoing support. Without you guys, Path of Exile 2 could not have happened. Now, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Stick around, because coming up next, we have a live Q&A with Ziggy D.
It's cooked. Wait, his name is literally Ziggy D? It says that on his birth certificate? Wait, the last guy was named Mark. Oh, it's a streamer.
To the post-show discussion and Q&A.
Oh, no,
I hope you all enjoyed what you've seen so far. It's been pretty exciting for us here as well, as you guys have been inspired already just watching
Streaming
things.
YouTuber name, okay.
And you're already cooking a new Ascendancy class.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got to do design whenever you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's been a few fun moments here already. But I'm your host, Ziggy D, and I'm joined by Jonathan and Mark to talk about everything you've seen. Honestly, it's so much.
I mean, we were really keen to make sure that when we went into early access that people didn't feel like it was just, limping along and kind of, just like a minimal amount of content. We really wanted to kind of blow people away. So hopefully people feel like, there is enough content. Because, it was certainly a mission to get all that stuff in.
Yeah, I did come here expecting that there would be, maybe a basic mapping placeholder endgame and your 3 acts and, the half the classes. But you've made a decision here clearly that's got to go the core PoE player community in mind.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have to make sure, look, Path of Exile.
I think it's really cool that they have a content creator on
between different types of content, and that
to talk
some
about
people enjoy one
and
thing, some people
answer
enjoy another, and I
questions
feel like that choice
that
is like a
the
huge part of what
primary
makes them good.
creator has
So
for
if
the
we didn't
game.
have that when we entered
I think
Endgame, then
that's
I don't think
super
that would
relevant
be
for the community,
that
and it's
wouldn't be a
really
Path of
cool to
Exile
publicize it.
So that's kind of
That's fucking
what we have to make
sick.
sure of. So we kind of said, okay, well, what is the minimum number
Plus
of
that
like
table
different
looks
in-game things you
amazing.
need to be able to have in order
Look
to
at
be
that
able to
table.
actually have a viable in-game that you feel
Yeah,
like you get different choices, and that's
I
how we
want
ended up
that
with what we have
table.
here.
I definitely feel like a lot of games nowadays release, and their campaigns and tack
Tons of
real
interviews
good. You
with
get to the
content
end
creators.
game and it just falls real
What's it
flat.
like to have your developers
And
listen
it was
to you?
certainly a very important moment for us when we were like, hold on. That's the wrong thing to do. Let's not make the same
Do
mistake
they have
as
a
everyone
partner
else. Let's
program?
pivot. And we actually did that, and it made a world of difference and made the game all of a sudden, 100 times bigger with an infinite
don't?
amount
Okay.
more content, right?
It was definitely hard though, because okay,
Good, that means they'll actually pay me for
we're
stuff.
progressing. It's like we would have made it. We would have gotten all these acts in if we hadn't have changed direction. It's like to actually say, you know what, we're going to specifically not finish this content that we'll be working on. That we it's like pens down, everyone. We're stopping work on this. We're going to move over to Endgame because it's actually more important. Like that was certainly a hard one.
That would have been some whiplash there, I imagine.
For sure. Well, I mean, it's like suddenly the whole, environment art team, it's like,
Yeah,
they're all
like,
just like,
that's
whatever
incredible.
you're working on, just scrap. You don't want to scrap, but, just stop it. we're doing something else now. So,
Saving clothes.
All right, I'm getting
Especially
bigger
for a
again,
lot of
guys.
the developers, because you got to also think a lot of our developers have just been working on this campaign for
what is it now, 6 years. Like,
I think it's even longer, actually.
Yeah, it's like just this epic journey, whereas none of them, you know, a lot of these people haven't been working on Path of Exile 1 this whole time, where so some of us are like, you know, we're just churning out Endgame with every league and doing all of that, but for a lot of these people, a lot of these developers, yeah, it was quite jarring to swap over, but everyone embraced it. You know, we talked about it, everyone was happy about it and stoked about it, and it just ended up coming out real awesome. So
I think it's landed well, and it definitely kind of blew me away when you. So even before I saw anything,
They only sponsor people with bigger than 5K average viewers. Well, that's not true because they're sponsoring me right now. What are you talking about?
I'm getting dopamine just from hearing about it. I haven't even seen anything yet. But do you guys feel like you're competing against yourself?
Ironically, I'm giving a lot of that money right back to them for the early access.
Set the bar for what is available to Endgame.
They knew
in a game like this, and it makes it's not acceptable really to launch with just nothing in terms of Endgame now.
Sorry guys, I moved the volume thing.
If you're not competing with yourself, then I don't think you're going to make good progress, right? So that's what you really have to do.
Yeah, but cracking that out for beta even.
Yep, absolutely.
Pretty
well,
exciting.
as I said, I just think it would not have landed nearly as well without that, and I think it's important
You're all
that our
awake
existing
now.
Path of Exile 1 community feels like they're also served.
It's a volume
Yeah,
check.
sure, we're doing all this stuff for new players, and that's really important, and that'll expand the audience. But you know, if we launched and all the PoE 1 players are unhappy, that wouldn't be good. So you know, we have to make sure that they also feel like
I'm just making
we've got
sure
a
you
game
guys
for
are
both
locked in,
them
guys.
and for all the new players we hope to.
I'm just
bring
making
to the
sure you're
genre.
locked in.
And you definitely want all those different axes as well. Like just having two, right? You'll get a lot of content can be immediately divisive, right? Obviously, that's the nature of it. That's how it goes, right? And so you have all of these different avenues because there are different players who like different types of content.
Yeah.
So if you're just like, here's your one
Kiwi Pet,
in-game
'cause it's
system,
from New Zealand.
well,
I see.
immediately then there is a portion of players who are just like, I don't want this, right? And
Wait,
so
these
having
devs
all
are
of these
from New
options is, like,
Zealand?
ultra key, and that is what Path of Exile 1 has taught us. And again, it's like,
Wait, these
I'd
are
say
way
lessons
better than the
learned,
American
you know,
devs
for the
that
genre,
made
and it is
the
expanding in
competitor-
other
the
games
competitor
and
games.
stuff. But, yeah, certainly, as you said, competing with ourselves. Yes, PoE 1 has like, you know, 40 axes, you know, and we've got 7 really good ones here, and obviously more to come. But 7 is a lot, mind you.
Especially when it's all like, you know, like people have to learn a lot of things again. It's going to be very interesting to see how long it takes people to do the kind of difficulty 4 pinnacle content. It's like we have you know, we have to. It's honestly like we actually don't even really know because like you never know what people are going to find in terms of builds and so on. Like I'm hoping that it will take people a while to be able to work it out, but you know, you never know. Maybe end of day 1, people just be like, oh yeah, easy, no problem, mate. You know, could be what it's like.
We have a few people that are doing that sort of thing. I saw like a solo self-found level 100 in 24 hours or something.
Jeez, okay. Have we got this is where we've got it now, is it?
So but I imagine there'll be a little bit of a soft reset there for people.
Yeah, for sure.
A relearning period.
There's stuff to learn.
And I mean, PoE 2 has changed a lot over the years, so more than 5 years of development now. And what was that initial pitch when PoE 2 was first put forwards, like, as to what it's going to be? Because it was much smaller in scope originally.
Yeah, so when we started, it wasn't even a sequel. It was just, we're just updating the character rigs.
I'm sorry.
Over time, it kind of feature creeped into
Ziggy's hair is bullshit.
into a proper sequel. But the thing that we were saying is whenever we were talking about it, and I guess this is the main thing, is that we're like, okay, when we make an area here, it needs to be that there's like a theme for it. It feels unique from everything else. We're not going to just like have recycled stuff like within the campaign that just feels like, oh, you know, we just took this area and modified it slightly. You know, each one's got to have its own stuff. It's got to have monsters that were like carefully thought about that like, you know, fit in with the world, and it's got to have bosses that are actually like good tier quality. You know, and every area is going to have one.
Andy's got a full beard. Fuck this guy.
Decisions have kind of been things that have meant that. They really raised the quality bar to a level that took us way longer than we even really expected. Like those things there, just like it's huge, right? Like honestly, I feel like we underestimated significantly what it would take to deliver that level of quality.
I remember really early on, a battle I fought for, and I mean like way back, was like.
I'm curious, the PoE 1 users in my chat,
which obviously still holds
based on the gameplay and stuff you've seen from PoE 2, does it feel like a new, upgraded, unique, standalone game that reminds you of PoE 1, or is it just PoE 1 reskinned?
With 1 or 2 skills.
Is this like an Overwatch situation, or is this genuinely feel like a new game?
To be memorable and a thing. I don't want a unique monster that's just like dies in 2 seconds and uses
like
heavy strike and
Overwatch
has a fancy name,
which is bullshit.
And I remember, I even got some push.
New game, better graphics, better controls, different mechanics, very different.
Time and thinking
Perfect.
like, you know.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I could get invested in
I
PoE
love the
1 because
bosses,
I
my
felt like I
favorite
was
part of
behind the
everything, you know?
ball.
So I was just like,
PoE
man, I
2
really
seemed
I
like
don't want this. This is just terrible. And
feels like
of
BDO,
course,
but
that
like
decision, me pushing for that,
obviously
me
it's not an
wanting
MMO,
that, turned into
but
this
like I can play it with other people.
megalithic-
You know,
What have you done?
Now
it's
we
got the
have
complex
50,
systems
aiming
I
to be
like.
100, honestly,
Crafting
probably
and
later,
stuff, right?
several more 100 once all the end games, everything start to evolve and more expansions
What up,
comes
Hex?
out. And I'm like, yep, we maybe just made, 100 times more work for ourselves, but 100% bloody worthwhile, because I'd say those bosses are one of the main, attraction pieces of the game. And anyone who plays it is just like, holy crap, those boss fights are amazing. So like, obviously some are bad and some are good to different people and all that. That's how it all goes. That's part of all the fun. But it is true that me pushing for that thing literally created thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of work. Now, worthwhile work, but it is, again, that exact thing of like, the scope was kind of small on numerous axes. And as we just raised the quality bar to what we thought was good, it certainly went from... what was it initially? Just reskinning some character classes and new rigs or whatever into this like mega scale entire campaign. Yeah, everything.
It's crazy, bro.
But
full standalone.
Feels like a
separate
sequel that's
game.
preserved its soul. That's the best way to put it.
It's
It's amazing.
territory. It was originally codenamed Project Chimera.
What? I don't.
Project Chimera.
It was this pipe dream.
I've never been a fan of these codename things.
It was this like there were times way back in the original Office. There was
Sounds
all
like a
this
badass name though.
Sometimes there'll be a feature you can't really do in PoE 1, and it was always like, we'll do it in Project Chimera. That was like amongst the developers, and people were like, what the heck is that? Now, ironically, there is a boss in Act 3 called... Well, it's got a different name, but it's called the Chimera internally. It is a Chimera. It's a multi-headed beast. And you've seen it in a few of the marketing, things here and here, different trailers, little snippets of it. And I think it's just ironic that was actually the first boss asset made before everything, the first monster, because back in when we used to just make random monsters and we'll find out how to use them. And that was made for that game. It was used in the original PoE 2 trailer, right? It is the only incomplete, technically, but only from a balance standpoint, or was the last boss to finish in the entire Path of Exile campaign.
That's crazy.
It sounds like there was like some sort of emotional demon that you had to battle there, of like the legacy of the original idea, and you had to finish it.
We had a moment with the monster game designers where we're like, oh my god, it's happening, the Chimera is finally being finished. Holy, this is like, we were effectively like, we need to celebrate this boss finally being done. It was like at the origin, and now it's at this, point where we're about to deploy early access, not to say the end, because the end is forever away.
Yeah. Still the
I
beginning
feel like
of the journey.
PoE
anyways.
is like
but
the
on that note of
staple
celebrating,
action role-playing
how do
game.
you guys feel having now kind of
Like this
for the
is
first
like
time,
the
I feel really like laid bare
in this
kinda
genre of
everything
games.
you
This
have
is like
putting
it.
it out there, and
So PoE 2
only being 2 weeks
hitting
away from
is
everyone playing it.
extremely important.
Well, it's always scary,
right?
Because
like,
coming into a release, and I think especially for
all the other ones, you guys know the ones I'm talking about, right? All the other games are
this is their first game
fucking irrelevant,
and that experience is something.
If PoE 2 hits really hard. Like
it's tough, and honestly, I think that even we were feeling a little bit cocky actually about the fact, because we release content for PoE 1 all the time, and I feel like we kind of felt like we knew what it took to get a game released, but honestly, PoE 2 was just a whole
that got me
entirely different
excited,
demon.
and I didn't play
it's just way more.
I've played like Diablo before in the past. And it was fun, but it just didn't quite hit for me. Path of Exile seems like the better version of what I played before, but I felt like I was too far behind the ball to get involved in Path of Exile 1. So PoE 2 really seems like a game that like I really want to try to get into and like give it a go.
It's just been crazy.
And it's like the staple game for the genre. You know what I mean? And that's just so cool.
But
I got a drop.
I think we do.
Boys, we got our drop.
Players are going to really enjoy, and it's always comforting when we had a live event in LA recently. People, we got to the time limit and everyone's like, oh man, we don't want to stop. So like, I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. It's been a whole different experience for me here playing this time around as well. Whereas before I was playing a very buggy,
we have drops on. You guys should be getting drops as well from my
stream.
stream.
Experimental now playing almost what I'm going to be playing. In
Well, I
2
heard you
weeks, so.
still managed to blow the count up the elevator with some kind of knockback bug.
I wasn't going to mention that.
If you've been watching the whole time, you should have a drop now.
I did send the Act 1 boss up an elevator with knockback. It was good.
Intended mechanic.
I thought it was pretty funny. He was in his like big wolf form and kind of trapped in there, so just barking at me through the
Stuck
wood.
at 11? It's probably just a bug. You're fine.
So if
I
you
just
little shots, a few
refreshed.
things to work out over this next 2 weeks. I hope the team can have a little bit of a rest for a day before they get back into it. Maybe.
Yeah.
No, it's been a lot. So you've done that pivot to the endgame focus and got so much for us now to play around with in the beta, and it seems like originally I was thinking, we might be playing for a few weeks here, and then maybe going back over to some Path of Exile 1 stuff, but it seems like you guys want us playing through Christmas.
That would certainly be good. Look, there's enough stuff there. I think it will take people a long time to get through.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, it's also going to be the first time people are playing through a completely fresh campaign as well. I think
Yeah,
that
I'm
will
very
take people a
excited.
fair amount of time. So yeah, there's and then of course the end game as well. To explore.
Everyone,
I mean,
it's
yeah,
definitely
it should
working
be
for everyone.
Pretty significant.
I'll stay in the category after the stream finishes for a little longer and react to some Path of Exile stuff for you guys, so that if you latecomers can get your drops.
Like how PoE 1 leagues are, where you play them and you play them
Sound
for like,
good?
a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
And then, sure, you get done with them eventually, and then you've got the next content that comes out. So
I got you
in order
guys.
to be able to realize that, you have to have enough of a base to make that happen.
Yeah, people are definitely wondering like how invested they can get in the beta. So I definitely want to ask a few questions kind of around that idea. So firstly, is there going to be wipes and resets, and will there be something before launch as well?
So we are going to be having new leagues effectively throughout the beta. Whenever
No,
we
because
launch
they have
something
active
significant,
drops on my
because,
stream.
we want to make sure that
It's not
all
just
the,
for their
effectively
stream.
the people are able to play through. But that stuff will be merged into an early access league, and effectively after we go into full release, that league will stick around. Now I can't promise that everything about your character will function exactly like
Surely
how
not.
it did in that thing.
I imagine it will be a glorious kind of snapshot of all of the here's all the broken
here's all the
stuff
broken
I have.
stuff.
Yeah.
But effectively, we can contain all that stuff in the sort of early access league, and then if you still want to play those characters, then you can go right ahead and do that. But the action is always going to be in whatever the most recent league is, and then of course after that point there'll be a standard that everything goes into, which all our economic sins will forevermore be archived in the in standard. So that's no doubt what will happen.
Well, it's nice that it's not going to be affecting what will be the standard league.
Yeah.
Also,
That's
that
the idea.
people will be able to kind of get invested in their characters.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
I mean, there's even something kind of cool about the idea of making something that will be like that little historical piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little collectible.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there'll be some handful of legacy things that only exist in early access leagues. So I guess we'll have to see what comes with the unique balance.
You talked about like the playing for a week or how long are we expecting?
Yeah.
Well, we also got to remember, and a lot of the PoE 1 players will be thinking very differently to people who are obviously going to experience this as a new game, but it is a new game, right? You don't have all these predefined, hyper-refined builds to play to immediately, go through things. You don't have people.
PoE 1 was like you play the expansion, and then you're done with it for a while until the next one comes out, right?
Items. The discovery is going to be there. The discovery takes time, and the discovery is like honestly ultra fun.
So this
for
is
me.
a game I can
love it.
dive into, and
Now
then
those
just
things
keep
will
coming back
emerge
to
after time.
when the
Of course they
expansion
do.
comes out.
Completely fine. But you just remember, like, there's a lot of game to play here to discover, to learn about the world, the new narratives, the new
hardcore,
world
and
building,
then
the new unique
it's a new
items,
game,
the
so we're all going to be in
ascendancy
on it for a
classes,
lot
the
longer at the start.
massive passive tree, which is bigger than PoE 1's. The end game systems, the bosses, it's not going to be this I personally, when a PoE 1 league comes out, for example, I play for like a month, sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit less. It ultimately also depends largely what's going on here and how much I need to invest here. So, and there are other people who play for more like 3 and whatnot, but there's certainly going to be a much longer time period you can play this for while still discovering new stuff and not feel like
What
you're
is
finished. You know what I mean?
HCSSF?
Now, of course, you see that's subjective. Everyone can pick their own point when they finish, but if you want to see everything and do everything,
PoE
you're going to be
infinite
investing
combo.
a lot more time, especially these first time rounds, and then obviously with every league, there's more to
Hardcore solo,
discover,
okay.
but you get faster at doing all these parts over and over and over again. You'll get more efficient over time. That's how the game works. So, yeah, I'd expect a lot of time
Hardcore
to be sunk
permadeath.
into this to fully
Ooh.
explore it, to start with, like a lot.
Not at the start. Maybe once
not
I
a
get
week,
used to the
not
game.
2 weeks.
I don't want to
You're
take the
gonna be
fun
going
out of the
far,
game
far
for
longer
myself.
than that if you want to see everything. But,
Not at the start.
It's
I
up to
won't
you.
do
Play
hardcore
at your
at
own
the start.
pace, see how you want to go.
I
learn at
only
your own
do
pace.
that for World
That's
of
the-
Warcraft.
That's the beauty of a
'Cause
new
I'm a
game as
retard.
well, which we haven't been able to experience with Path of Exile 1, or other games, and for so long, is actually discovering the entire
world, and yeah, there's some familiar mechanics at the end game and stuff like that, which is awesome for people. But yeah, I certainly want to really. I'm very excited to see people discovering the new things and getting so excited.
I'm
about
excited,
it.
bro.
I can tell you're amped for watching people go through that discovery process. I'm maybe even diving in yourself
100%.
I mean, I love sitting there in Path of Building, as many of us do. But I am very excited for that.
Well, yeah, as we
that
were
new
saying,
discovery process for a while.
I think you were saying how
Unmapped.
much you were part spreadsheet. I think I'm like. I think I was saying I'm like maybe 60% spreadsheet, 40% discovery, and that's my play archetype.
60%
You know, so
Coming up with our player profiles, Timmy spikes, and things like that.
So I'm going to be theory crafting
the
builds in
discovery
my head
part of me
all
is
day.
ultra
Is that what you're
excited,
telling me?
and oh, mind you, that's
I'm
coming
gonna
from
be
someone
going
who
to
kind of
sleep
knows all the content.
thinking like,
I'm still
I
because
could
there's
do that
something different
too.
about making it versus actually playing it live with the players, seeing them discover it, uniques being linked in chat and on Reddit and all of that is just so cool. So we're gonna get a massive dose of that, and it is like genuinely exciting to just see how people are gonna think, you know, what's worth 1 chaos or what's worth 10 chaos, what's worth if chaos is even the metric.
Is chaos even the currency that people settle on?
We were arguing about this earlier.
I'm pretty sure that 1 C spam in
Path of
chat might turn
Excel.
into 1 E because, like, you know, 1 exalt.
I love
given
Path
that
of
exalt
Excel
is now-
spreadsheets,
I think it'll be
bro.
chaos.
People probably
the ad remove will still be.
People don't appreciate, by the way, like, so when we say we've increased something, you're going to be getting multiple exalts in Act 1 in PoE 2. Like, we actually have increased that a lot. It isn't just like an idle, you know, like
I can
thing.
see exalts becoming the new kind of like chaos. And
Yeah, I think actually that
chaos
it will
being
be.
the new
I
divines.
actually agree. I actually agree. But we'll see.
But, like, that's my point.
But it's a new economy, right?
Who
like, who
knows?
even knows? The market will have to.
But I like that we're already arguing about this. It's good fun. So, do you have some kind of like beta release roadmap for updates and things like that for people to look forward to? With that?
I mean, we certainly did have one 6 months ago, but now that we're sort of getting to release, it's like, oh my god, like, you know, we have to look at it. So, I mean, look, I don't think it'll be any less than 6 months, and I think it could easily end up being more. I certainly don't want to. I mean, look, 2025. I think really want to be, you know, full release in 2025. I don't really want to be spending more than a year.
If I buy early access, will I be able to keep playing until the game releases, no matter what?
That sort of stuff. You know, we always
Liz know what they're talking about. Yeah, I do.
And of course, we have to learn what we need
I
to.
am
We have to
keeping
get
up
the
with
game
it.
to the point when it is
I'm locked in,
really
guys.
fun. You know, we have to make sure that, like, all of the things, like, you know, we've got the difficulty right for all the players, we've got the economy right, like all the stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to sort out. And so I kind of have a feeling that the first few weeks at least are going to just be a scramble of, like, you know, oh crap, someone like worked this crazy thing out and we found this thing, and, like, you know, that's always scary, you know, because it's just when we add content to PoE 1, it's like at least the kind of base of stuff that we have is kind of, you know, well tested and people know kind of what's going on with it. But here it's like just complete new world, and we're the kind of game that has a lot of ability for players to do stuff that we wouldn't
thanks for the follow, buddy.
You know, we have the you know, just the way support gems work and everything like that. So there's certainly a lot of worry that, like, there's just going to be builds that are, like, completely ridiculous that we just never anticipated, with combining certain things in different ways we don't expect, you know, with hundreds of support gems it can be like that. So, you know, that's going to be an interesting one.
It will happen.
Yeah, for sure.
It is inevitable, right? Like, there's nothing we can even do about it because you'd need hundreds and thousands of hours of testing to be able to do that with what can only be done with hundreds of thousands of players.
Personally, I like that they don't really have to play test it. They're like, we don't know how it's going to work. We're going to let the players do it, and then we promise we'll change it as it goes. BDO is like, they don't play test, and then they don't change anything. It takes forever to get anything done.
It is a bit, but you know, we like a challenge.
Like, just give them the content, and then we'll fix it. We promise.
Skill tree like we do clearly has a bit of a glutton for punishment with regard to just, like, mixing.
You totally put it on 6 and then, like, I don't know, added more later in an expansion or something.
Yeah,
like, we haven't even tested it yet.
This is the plan. This is the plan. You know, I mean, like, as you go through,
who needs a global test server?
Like there's just expansion content coming
when
out
you can just give it to the live server.
You know, we have all
you know what I mean?
That we kind of, you know, got some of the way, a lot of the way through. So yeah, there's stuff that's coming. I mean, look, I'm pretty sure, like, I really want to get the Druid out. Like, we announced it, we've talked about it. It's a lot of fun.
It's too complicated.
Get it out there as soon as we can. You know,
well, I think it makes it kind of it's a unique balance approach to give that power to the players, and I think it makes people excited to play the game when you do an update, so that they can try to figure out the stuff. You know what I mean?
we've always been
very interesting.
it's hard to predict because a lot of what will happen is, and what we leave space for, is reacting to what the players want.
Of course, they do some play, like core play
you're going to have
testing.
very, very, very slow reaction times to fixing, or adding certain content where there may, maybe the issue is like, the campaign needs more of this, or this class needs more of this, or something. So if you're,
we're
you're
still
planning,
playing
then
Guild
you're going
Wars
to be
2.
delivering on what
we're diving in on WoW today.
Solved like a year down the line, or even
we're in
longer.
OnlyFans.
And where we like to remain
We
very,
will
very dynamic
keep
and like
doing Guild Wars 2 as
want to
we
be
go.
able to fix that stuff. Like,
like my side
this
project.
is the main problem. Like,
I
sure,
love
obviously
it.
you need more than a week.
It's a fun game.
Sometimes, most of the time, but we want it generally to be that the next releases, expansions, updates, whatever, can alleviate as many of those problems as possible. So. Yeah, you try not to get too strict with the planning has generally been our philosophy, because especially when it comes to actually having the live service product out, because that is very, very important. Otherwise, you're never going to seem like you're doing what people want, and what are you doing if not that?
So that actually is a good point. Like, I was going to ask, what does the team want out of the beta? Because obviously it's like a good way to market the game, but
why are they
it's
calling it
also,
a beta?
Isn't
this
key
early
to shaping
access?
the game in the future? Like, it's actual beta. It's not just early access.
I think
so.
One
It's
of the most
beta.
important things is I think
But
it's
it's
going to be really
also
good
early
for the
access
development team to get
because the
back
game is
into
coming
a
out
live
in like a few months.
mindset and like get it back
They
into
keep
the
calling
idea of
it
like
beta. I'm like, what the
is shipping.
PoE 1's still in beta.
Get back into this, people are saying, like actually getting back to that, and like,
Ashes
and, like,
of
being able to sort
Creation
of see directly,
came out
like,
a few days
okay,
ago.
we make something that goes in the game, people
Blue,
like it,
that
don't
was
like it,
alpha
like that
too.
kind of stuff.
No.
Like, and that really, like,
No, it
that has
wasn't.
been our studio for like most of its lifetime. Obviously, before we released PoE 1, it wasn't, but after that point, I mean, we are a company, like. We are a company that likes to think that we can do live service better than anyone else. Like, that is our goal. And so, like, getting back into that again, for everyone in the studio, so that everyone's working on things that are going to be releasing within, certainly in less time than 3 months away. Is going to think be really, really good for us again. I look forward to just being able to do that, because these long term, like really long term things, like that span over years. It's like you go so long without proper feedback, like stuff kind of gets made, and then like it's not really in a real game, and so it doesn't get
probably
tested
lose
properly.
perspective,
and you absolutely lose perspective on this stuff. So I think that that's just going to be really great to get back to that again.
Yeah, I honestly, as you said, it is early access. It is a beta period, and I'd say personally speaking, the thing that, and we mentioned it briefly about the character balance and the builds that are broken and all that, that's obviously pretty useful to me, right?
Yeah.
Plus, we have other systems in there, like, the checkpointing system, right? You have to kill the boss in one life. These are things we haven't mass
credit
tested.
cards.
And obviously other games have, and they work, and that's awesome. There are other things like, the end game system is a little bit less forgiving in that if you die, you fail the map, right? These things are things that we obviously need to test and iterate on in the future by adjusting the difficulty and stuff like that. And especially as you get towards this point of, the end game, like, okay, Act 1 has been tested like crazy.
Yep.
Right? And you get less and less testing as it goes on, because you get less people, they've just been around for less time. And so, it's going to be a huge amount of iteration and feedback, and from the players and us just, reevaluating all the stuff. And the thing is, we're always dynamic about that stuff. Like, we'll just change things if it's wrong. We'll redesign it. We'll come up with a new way. Jonathan's a firm believer of if A doesn't work and B doesn't work, then we'll find C, we'll find option C, we'll find option D, and we'll keep changing things, and we'll make it work. So, it's going to be a lot of that iteration on our design decisions.
I'm very excited. What classes are you guys playing? I'm playing Witch.
Hard. It can be pretty hard.
I'm doing the demon mommy.
When you're on that fine line of like, if things are
I'm
difficult.
not messing around with it.
Thought
about
it's
it.
Not
Warrior
too
looks
easy
really
to know
fun
if
too,
you've tilted
though.
one way or the other. So, finding what everyone agrees should be the common
monks.
corrected difficulty is something that I will obviously be paying very, very,
Striker.
very close
Yeah,
attention
so that's
to.
a monk.
Pretty hard thing to nail down when you are making the game.
Monk or
so
ranger? Okay.
We've seen that a lot, where you folks have been pretty willing to change and then rechange and rechange again some of the core features like flasks and the waypointing system and portals.
Wow, so
and
no one is
keeping
playing
that
Witch
kind of
with me?
mindset going into the beta then.
I have no Witch
we're
mains.
always
Probably
willing to change
Stork.
stuff like that flask thing. Like the most recent change to that was
Mercenary?
like ultra recent. Like
Ultimate
have we even
Booba?
had like a closed beta of that yet? Was it? No, I think we haven't. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's way better than it was.
I said Witch?
Things
Who are
have
you?
improved a lot. And honestly, like that's one of those things we'll be
Witches
wanting to
are for
do
bottoms?
something to sort out flasks for ages.
Yep.
And it really came about because when actually looking at what new players were having trouble with when they were playing,
playing which?
Flask Piano was actually like, even from the very beginning of the game, actually ended up being one of those things that like people just had trouble, just like just the manual dexterity required to like hit all your different flask keys, and then you have to know when one of your flasks has run out so you can move to the next
Fuck
one.
you,
and, like,
it's a
various things
fantasy,
like that. Like, all that
okay?
stuff
I can't
actually
have it
was,
in
like,
real life.
Just a weirdly large amount of mechanical complexity right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then even at Endgame, I don't think it was really that
Succubus.
satisfying either, because
He
you ended
gets
up
it.
with like, just like
That
having
guy
to press
gets
all these
it.
buttons all the
He
time.
understands.
Obviously, it's
He
all
knows
utility
it. I
flasks
know
that
it.
people are using at Endgame. And then we kind of tried to band-aid this in PoE 1 with the, some of the flask automation stuff that was added there. But there was still this idea that that you're still more powerful if you don't automate. So
I love what they did with the flasks. I don't know what they did with the flasks. The flasks look normal to me because I didn't play the first
you get
one.
mage blood. Really,
Sure, I guess, sure.
I mean, it's
You need to
all
press
automated
1
and
through
you're
5 every
very
5-7 seconds.
But,
So
yeah,
they
the
pop
point is, I think
automatically
the
now?
charm stuff that we're doing effectively means that you no longer, the game is making that decision of like, that stuff will be automated. You no longer have to do that.
Okay,
like,
so
crazy
they gave us
flask piano to get
miraculous
the best,
cheer 5.
the best out of every character, and I think that is
Okay,
definitely a
bet.
step in the right direction. And the other thing as well is it actually makes the crafting more meaningful, I think, on the flasks, because when you've got like 5 slots, then like the individual mods and the individual stuff like seems to tend to not matter as much. I mean,
Yeah, we
obviously,
want us 5
people want
flasks. Oh my
instant
goodness.
recovery and things like that, but like but
And I don't
like
have to
now,
pop
it's like
them,
the
right?
actual,
Like-
it's much more meaningful, like on your life flask, the choice between do I want instant or do I want
Hey,
way more.
Do you have to
like,
press
life
combos
actually can
like
be a lot more
Shift
meaningful
F
than the
and
one.
stuff on your keyboard,
I think
or
there's a lot
do
better
you
than
like click and drag? You're pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
On the topic, you have
So it's not combos; it's just like the numbers.
locked in effect.
Oh, no, it's QERT keys.
now, so there's always
Oh.
going to be amount of flasks slot. And how does
Well,
that,
that's even
how does
better.
that tie into
Again,
your
League
design
of
for
Legends,
mana, and are we
that's-
always going to
okay.
be using mana flask slot, or if we solve another way, what does it do?
You can
Bro,
absolutely solve another
I was
way,
playing
and then you
another
always have a flask slot that doesn't
game
do anything,
recently.
for sure. But I think
It's
it
also
kinda
like
has to work
League.
that
It's like
way
an
because
MMO
we,
League of Legends
really
style
don't
game.
want, yeah, because,
You guys
once
will hear
sort of
more
start
about that
getting
tomorrow.
to changing that around. I feel like the system sort of starts to break with regard to like
Dota 2? No, I got sponsored
feeling
to
of, like, I know where
get
mana is, I know where
exclusive
my health is,
access
like,
for a
that
new
kind of stuff.
MMO that's
That being
coming
said,
out.
we've
It's
always
like a
got
big
uniques and
MMO
stuff like that.
that's coming
I
out.
believe there's already
Yeah, there is a unique
there
that
is a
allows
unique
you to
that-
equip
And
two.
so there's a
But the
video
thing is
coming
that
out on
that's
my
a build
channel like
choice that you're
tomorrow about
making,
it.
so it's a little bit different, and that's fine.
It's got the same
But,
QWER.
yeah,
I'm like,
I think
oh, thank
the
God.
system as it works now, just it's a lot easier.
So it does sound like on
Start off
the
with the
mana
base
side of
class,
things,
pretty much
then there are gonna be
everything builds
multiple
the same
angles of
way.
solving mana,
It's
not
just the class has a
necessarily
better
one.
advantage over another class for certain builds.
Edition number
That's good, but at least that part of the game is like easy to grasp.
And we've finally got it right this time. So,
What does QWER mean on your keyboard?
Yeah, I think it works, and I think it's good. So I think that Leech will be more common.
I'm not gonna have to like crack out the leech diagram,
Q,
show
W,
buckets and things like
E,
I was
that.
saying, I think that Leech might be. No, I think I was going to say Leech is one of the topics in the studio that has wasted the most designer time of anything in the industry. But I actually don't think it's that. I think the actual worst offender is what stats should Dex give you. I think that
I'll find you.
is
I'm
like
just saying.
that one has wasted there's so many arguments
trying to
about
help,
that.
I think that one's never come to the fore. Like we know about the leech one,
because the thing, but no one is happy about giving accuracy. But no one has a better idea than what accuracy that it can give. And then, like everyone's going to come up with like in chat a bit. I bet they'll be like saying,
Skills
"Oh, you know, I can
PoE?
give this or this, whatever."
So,
but
what kind of
there's, like,
APM am I looking at
seriously,
on my
there's
grind in
endless
PoE
arguments
2,
about
guys?
that topic. It's like it's outrageous. Yeah.
Is it like Awakening Witch APM, or is it like Succession Hashashin?
Speed
So
would
1
be
out
good,
of
but
10.
then
Okay,
it's
1.
too
Okay,
much.
bet.
That's
2
too much.
to
Something like Dex,
1,000.
you should
All
have
right,
Dex
the
that
bet.
Oh, we can get all the designers down here right now.
Yeah, I know. But we'll just have it out again. We'll just have it out again. Yeah.
The longest
Think
Q&A.
Awakening Witch. Okay, bet.
Yeah.
It's already going to be that.
Sometimes you're just like, you start the day, and you're like, all right, here are the problems we need to solve, and then you're like,
A lot of builds end up being 1 button grinds.
oh
Bet.
no, it's 3 p.m. and we're still discussing dexterity.
Yeah.
So go home. Just make it accuracy again.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
That is
make it
literally how it comes
accuracy.
back to accuracy every time.
This is okay.
Yeah.
Rewinding a little bit, we can't forget our roots with Path of Exile 1, of course. So for the PoE 1
Is this
enjoyers,
replacing BDO?
what is the plan for PoE 1 during the course of this beta? Is there going to be leagues launching? Is it on the back burner?
Yeah, there absolutely will be leagues launching. Now I don't know the exact date, but the plan is kind of late February.
Yep.
But I mean, look, we'll see what happens. I will admit, Unfortunately, we did have to steal a few PoE 1 resources just towards the end here, which is kind of been a bit unfortunate. I really wish we didn't have to. But yeah, as I said, we kind of underestimated some of the stuff. But
how often am I going to be able to turn into the demon mommy
again for the February league?
Man, now I'm all gassed up.
Make sure that we can.
Now I want to play the game.
One of the things that was a big problem for our studio when we had a long-term project and a short-term project, is that
dude, Karasima, welcome back for 2 months, man. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much, man.
So now that we've got 2 short-term things coming up.
Hey, yo, welcome back for 3 months, buddy. Appreciate you. Dog McFish for the brand new T1 sub. Thank you so much for your new sub, buddy. Nothing makes me wetter than a new sub. Thanks so much, man.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we need to get that PoE 1 expansion out next.
Yeah, obviously, I just want to always make it clear that, the reason why things can't be so planned out is, again, we're just releasing this game. Obviously, we pivoted to Endgame, and then that needed more resources. And then, of course, combined with the fact that, things obviously change. There are unpredictable things in the environment we can't necessarily guarantee. And then, of course, you have, Christmas coming up and all of that, right? There's so many variables to consider, but we also don't know how much time is going to be invested necessarily or need to be invested into live operations for post-release. How many problems are going to go wrong? How many builds are there? How many of the uniques are broken? How many, and where do all these resources go? There are just millions of variables here to consider, and so it can get very, very difficult, especially at this time. But once you release, you have a bit of a grace period, so to speak, where more like a period of extreme amounts of fire, where we're putting out fires everywhere. But we have a period where we're fixing everything, to get everything stable, and then we're going to be like, all right, let's recalibrate, figure everything out.
This game,
and what is our plans, and then establish all of that, based also on the feedback we get from that period where everything's on fire. Not to make it sound like it's going to be bad, but that is the inevitability. Is there's always problems. And
hopefully, it appears good from a player perspective, but there's always going to be like, oh my god, people found this, and we don't
have to see all the fires.
Ideally, the best thing is when we're able to fix some kind of exploit before people even hear about it. And when I say exploit, I'm just talking about some broken thing. If we we obviously normally have to worry about the whole mid-league nerf concept, but it's if you can deal with something within an hour or two of it happening, then it's you're kind of okay because no one had a chance to kind of everyone didn't swap their build over to it or whatever. But
guys, I gotta boot up WoW to make sure that I can try to get in on this server.
Well, I mean, look. We have several bosses.
I'm going to put it in the background.
Elevators. How many of them can be pushed up the elevator? You know what I mean? Well, that's what I mean. When I say a fire, I'm talking about bosses getting pushed up elevators. That's not okay.
I am
how do I choose another
flashbang knockback is very fun.
Right.
Change
you
realm.
need to look into that, by the way. The whole flashbang.
I feel like you're going to nerf my build.
Is this when he's just finding fires already?
Yeah.
No. These are the fun things. Discovering that stuff can be very fun for the players. It's just internally.
On Xbox, we get the outfit that makes your character naked.
You can get a little bit panicky after release.
That's why we play the female characters.
There's lots of things going on. You're like, oh, geez, what do I solve first? But obviously, it's the same as PoE 1. We're good at it at this point.
Got some experience. Indie belts. You aren't going to be torturing us with releasing beta stuff at the same time as PoE 1 league launches.
Yeah, the plan is to keep them separated a bit from each other so that
Thank you.
Don't make me choose.
Yeah.
So we saw a cinematic, to put it lightly. It was that was quite epic, and I know has been cooking for quite some time, and that was pretty exciting. But we've also seen just a lot of story stuff happening on a much higher level than previously now. So stepping up your storytelling game here a bit.
Yeah, so we're really wanting to make sure that the storytelling in PoE 2 is much better than what it was in PoE 1. There's a lot more kind of, I guess...
it's going to be hardcore.
Stuff with the introductions to boss fights and the outros and things like that, all that stuff. We've just got a lot more storytelling going in. All of those things. We do have the intro cutscene. There's also kind of light between the acts. There's these kind of more kind of motion graphic type cutscenes, just kind of established things. And there might be some more surprises later on in the game as well. Not in early access, unfortunately. Later on that we can see as well. But ultimately, we just want to make sure that I think a lot of people who got through the PoE 1 story
I've been
had no
saving
idea
my
what was happening
sweet
by the
dreams changed underwear in BDO
so,
for over a year,
effectively,
I'm
we
hoping
wanna
it
make
works
sure
on the
that it's not the case
gunslinger.
this time
You're an
around.
idiot.
People really are able to.
It's going to
absorb
be a
things, but
male class.
One thing I will say though
Destroyed.
is that it's ultra important to us that we don't break the feeling that like when you're playing a second time that it feels like we don't want it to feel annoying the second time.
We were talking about this morning. About
Yeah.
you don't take the control out of the player's
Exactly.
hands.
So yeah, I'm personally a believer of the fact that if you just when you change the camera position for a cutscene, immediately it feels way more annoying. Like because there's this whole thing of like if you click on an NPC and like the camera changes position, like sure when you're playing through the campaign the first time, that kind of thing is like like that can be cool. But then if you're like you're playing through the second, third, fourth, fifth time, you want to be able to go to the NPC and go click, 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 and just get past, and without it feeling like you've had to sort of worry about anything. So yeah, like effectively, we want to make sure that it's still that we still have that, because ultimately,
of course,
we're a game
it's going to be a hot
people
babe, guys.
to play through
Like,
many
of
times.
course, it's going to
so
be.
Ideally,
a
we can kind of deliver both the situation where the first time you play through it, it feels like an amazing story that you're getting, that you're taking seriously, that you're understanding, that you.
I'm hoping the story is really good.
The
story is what grips me into games like this. But like, what keeps me playing is how complex the game is, and it doesn't get more complex than this. This shit's crazy. Have we thought about adding more skill trees? I feel like another goddamn galaxy would be okay.
That stuff work well when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you said something this morning that stuck with me, where you said like Path of Exile is a game where the player's meta knowledge.
It's not a story game. I don't know, man. The cinematic looks pretty good.
Effectively,
there's what the character knows and there's what the player knows, and in our game, what the player knows needs to be sufficient as far as like being able to progress the storyline. If you don't want to have it so you just talk to an NPC just to find out something you already knew as a player.
If you kill this boss, you get the next area's waypoint. So you just like kill it, log out, log in, waypoint, right?
I love doing that.
Meta knowledge.
Yeah. So you explained to me the other day the kind of the context for the beast and how that leads into the cutscene in the beginning of PoE 2 from PoE 1, and that I think helped put it in a lot more perspective for me and made me appreciate and understand what's going on with the story.
So effectively, what you're seeing in the opening cutscene is effectively the a new seed of a beast that is going to be.
This is some badass art right here.
The beast was killed, and then
That's my favorite
what happened
one.
in response to that is a bunch of all the gods in the world were able to effectively rise again.
Look at that.
And you killed
like
a bunch of them, but
statue.
there are more, in the world. And effectively, we don't want to spoil too much about the storyline overall, but effectively, obviously someone here, the Count is wanting to harness the power of the beast once again.
But not broke. Shut up.
Then we have the mysterious figure
She's
there
not
who
broken.
is saying, no, don't do this.
I'm broken.
This always turns out badly.
There was a comment in chat that I loved that was like,
Look
stop
how
opening
well-groomed.
Eldritch boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy's hair is bullshit.
Why do people keep doing this?
Yeah.
I would.
If someone handed you a mysterious orb, wouldn't you press the button?
I mean,
there's a puzzle box.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to try, but who knows how many hours it's going to take me.
What's the realm called?
So we had a fun moment earlier where you were watching it and you were like, "Oh, we really need to rename that passive because he's a Karui and it's called a wolf.
Great Wolf's Howl, and the Great Wolf obviously being
so he went out there,
Islamite history.
You started telling him.
I don't see it.
Stomped out of the room. And I was like, we need to rename that notable. He's Karui. And then I was kindly reminded that actually he was
an orphan who
orphan and was adopted by a Islamite and raised and so yes, there is a mixture of Karui and Islamite background. And I was like,
it works. You were wrong.
Fair enough. I walked back in here all sad and whatever. My bad. It's fine. The name is good.
He looked so chastised when he came back in. But that just like points to the fact that I feel like you're doing a lot more with the characters here. For sure. You even mentioned that the ascendancy stuff is going to have an impact story-wise.
So, with
that's wild.
We just think a lot about this kind of stuff. So the acolyte of, I always get this name wrong. The acolyte of is it Chalula? Chayula. I always say this wrong.
Guys,
the acolyte of Chayula, for example. So that we have this sort of storyline with the origins of the monks, where there's like an order of monks who worship a thing they call the Dreamer, and the Dreamer is actually Chayula. So and they don't know know this. So they're effectively worshipping a breach demon. So
Does
the
that thing
acolyte
have
field
4
is effectively
boobs?
you embracing the fact that I'm worshipping a breach demon. I'm just going to go all the way.
I'm in too deep now.
Yeah, exactly. we're just gonna do it. So there's a lot of thinking like that goes into these things. Like, what is the history of these people? Like,
This game is
I think a lot of
awesome.
that stuff inspires interesting mechanics as well. So, for example, on that one, you've got that into the breach skill, which kind of means you're always in a breach all the time. You can see the things going on. Like that stuff is. I think that there's a lot of cool inspiration there. So coming up with that storyline stuff for that stuff,
there's a
better.
couple other
Siri, if you wanna
little
do
things that I think is
research.
cool as well, and hopefully people will notice and pay
I don't
attention
know,
to.
man.
So there's one of the bosses that was shown uses a lot of time or chronomancy.
Physiologically, at forearms, you need 4
interestingly,
pecs.
if you
That
are
is true.
a sorceress and you ascend to chronomancer and you then go to fight that boss, if you, for example, try to use time freeze, the boss is like, that doesn't work on me, and has a dialogue line. And if you cast temporal chains on them, he's like, just puts it back on you, and it's like, And so there's interesting things like that, and it doesn't like change things on a grand scale, right? It doesn't make a certain class not viable or anything like that. But there's just interesting little quirks and quips everywhere. Different bosses have
classes
different
gender
intro
locked?
lines depending on what
I
class
think
you're
that they
playing.
are.
They have different skill lines sometimes depending on what class
I'm pretty
you're
sure
playing.
they are. I think you wish you have to be
different
female.
dialogue all through the campaign for different classes, like the sorceress.
Yes.
Was obviously
So
from
I am
Ameriketh.
playing
When she
the
goes
female
back to
witch.
Ameriketh, there's kind of a little backstory there about how
I
she was
have
banished
randomly
originally.
chosen the
So she
demon
needs to find a way that
succubus
she needs to be
female.
accepted back into their culture again. Like we've
I
got things
spun
like
a wheel.
the character we talked about earlier. So the warrior, was an orphan. He was brought up by actually one of the NPCs in Act 1 town. So obviously there's a whole different dialogue there because he's effectively his adopted son. We've got things like that. There's a lot of thought
You
that's gone
played
into
PoE 1?
trying to make it feel like all these character classes have
Never played
some
PoE 1.
level of involvement with the world.
Oh, it was
that
not
just
fun.
come into existence.
It
the
was
moment that
fun.
you-
It just only had one option. It's
Other
crazy.
little things, so like more on the narrative side, obviously we saw the world map. You have the icons that show different things that are in each act, like all the things you want to explore,
Such a good
find,
idea.
and awesome. But each of them also has a little bit of a little bit of text on them as well. And like, for example, there's one in one of the first areas in the game that's just like a camp of Iron Count guards, and we showed it in a trailer when the Ranger class trailer we did. Whenever it was, you saw the ranger kill some of them because they were trying to like hurt a child, and the child was just trying to get some food, and the
Nothing
ranger
I
just
could
like
do.
snipes them with arrows
Chosen
and kills
at
them
random.
ruthlessly. And so you read this thing and you're like, you hear whispers of an Iron Count scouting party that was slain by a rogue archer or
Roll a
something
class
like that.
for me?
So you
Okay.
get these little things where we're like connecting a lot of little dots, and even that you absorb a little bit of interesting little information. You've got other things, for example, when you enter an area, it not only
Wait.
says the name at the top. now, it
Witch,
has
monk,
almost a
sorceress,
subtitle
warrior,
text that's giving you a little-
ranger,
A little bit of history.
and these little things like
And mercenary?
make the world building feel so much better. And when you approach certain landmarks,
These are the only 6 that are out in early access.
at the top as well, which says what it is and gives again a little bit of a thing. And all these little
Wutaru is
micro,
playing.
narrative delivery mechanisms like make you feel way more immersed in the world and way more aware of
He's
what's
gonna play
going
warrior
on, and
'cause he's
way
a
more
bitch. You
connected
know
to
he's
your
gonna play
character,
warrior,
way more
doesn't matter.
connected to the bosses,
He's playing
to the
warrior or monk.
NPCs. It's there's a lot we're
There's
doing
no
now that
child
we certainly
terrorists
never
for
did
him to
before.
play,
We didn't
so-
even think of before. But yeah, it's
I like
it's
that
awesome.
a lot because, like, as an action RPG gamer, I don't really care too much about plot, but I do want a really cool world to
Roll
be
for me?
blowing
Okay.
monsters up in. Basically, that's all I care. I want the characters to be
Tycoon?
cool, I want the baddies to be cool, and I want like the things happening around me that build
You
out a
are
bit of that
legitimately
story
playing
without me
warrior.
having to stop
That class
killing
is badass.
stuff.
If I was going
And
to play a
it
male
sounds like there's
class,
more of that
I would have
going
played
on.
warrior.
It's great.
No
well.
question.
There's-
The totems
Baddies
look
being
sick.
cool. I mean, that's that's how we
watching you
almost
cook.
designed an ascendancy class in here just before when we were watching that trailer.
Does
earlier.
anyone else need it?
So what you were
Why
saying
is Druid
a
not on the
shadow,
wheels?
you came
'Cause
up
it's
with
not
a
out in
shadow
early
ascendancy.
access.
Internally we had some developers
Oh.
watching the trailer yesterday, getting excited about it, and then I was like, I want to play that character. I want to be that character.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That like kind of Val Thaumaturge type character, and so like
Cool.
all of a sudden it's like, we should make that a class. And then we had another guy like suggest it should be a shadow, and so now I'm like, oh yeah, we're definitely, come on, we have to do a Val Thaumaturge like shadow
sick.
ascendancy. Like that's gonna be cool. And you can do awesome things now. Even I know it's hard to see because you hide it under all the armor, but you can do things like
with our character classes, just due to the upgrades and models, where all of a sudden now the character can have tattoos added to them and stuff like that is completely feasible in the future. And like, I want to do a lot more of that stuff. Like for the there's little things like for the Warbringer, I think was the class name on the Warrior. When you take that ancestral totem node, all your totems now have like an extra blue glow to them, kind of like they're enhanced by this ancestral magic. And what we also want to do is add tattoos as well that like glow blue when you're using certain skills and all that. So heaps of little things that again connect all the culture and all that stuff together and make you feel like it's believable as opposed, and this is a character as opposed to this is just a mechanic, and
makes picking an ascendancy more epic. I know that there was a part in the trailer that was like not fully finished where you ascend and it doesn't really do anything, but I know you want it to be like a cool moment where some power goes in you.
Absolutely. We just hadn't finished the VFX yet.
Even the another one, the Blood Mage, when you like play the Blood Mage, now you get an additive surge on your character whenever you cast spells.
Playing
you're
the
getting
demon
like
mommy.
blood bending kind of vibe going on, and like
drawing.
Okay, never mind. It's got blood bending. Okay, we might. Cool. Can I respec into Blood Mage if I want to?
Yeah, you can have like the tattoos get tattooed on them as they
go back and forth,
ascend and things like that. I mean, that just makes taking Ascendancy way more cool. Which is it's already, I think, I almost feel like Ascendancy is more important than the classes for players, kind of like feeling the vibe of what they want to do with their character. Like,
that's what made me want to play Witch.
Classes are pretty open.
Because I was like, I get to turn into a demon and fly around. That's
tree at the start point, but
and with the floating skulls and shit, I want to do that.
Using jewels, especially getting off-class stuff, you can kind of be whatever you want with the base class. So eventually, the Ascendancy is what becomes more of that important idea.
I play Witch for the minions. I play Witch for the simps that follow me around.
That another different class wouldn't be able to actually have. So
so you want to make that super cool. And on that note, I know I was definitely confused. I know people are definitely confused.
You can swap
and worried
Ascension?
about Ascendancy and what's happening with that. And people
so I'll probably try
the
blood bending, and then we'll go back to the good version.
Trial and being
just
like,
resets your level.
What if I don't like this? Is this another lab again? But I want you to like lay it out as like simply as possible. Like how do you ascend?
Yeah, so effectively in the full game there's going to be 3 Ascendancy trials. For early access there's 2.
The trial thing.
And effectively you can use any of those Ascendancy trials to be able to do your ascension.
You choose.
You choose which one. And effectively if you as you get to higher level keys for those trials, that will unlock more points. Like if you do it at certain level breakpoints, that will allow you to get more points for those classes. So if you want to just play the entire just only the Trial of the Chaos God with to get all your points.
It doesn't reset levels? Thank God.
Just play at higher and higher levels and you get more points as you go through. If you want to do a mix, that's fine too.
All right, so I'll probably at least try the Blood Mage then.
Content,
see what happens.
You might think that you... but even within the trials,
Warrior
there's
seems
choices,
really
right?
cool too, though.
I know that there's always contention around traps, but
Sorceress seems like... And I've played Sorceress in kind of every other game.
Trial of the Second is you can choose which rooms you want to go to. If you don't want to deal with traps, you just don't pick those rooms, right? Like
you don't go into the gauntlet rooms.
Don't go to the gauntlet rooms. You can just go to other things.
Do the combat ones.
Do the combat ones, and that's fine too. So effectively, it's like you always get to choose like what you're doing there. It's funny because like I know traps are so contentious, but also there are other people who just enjoy that stuff. So we want to have something for all those people too.
There's these
Path of Exile, divisive content, but lots of choice, and you can choose what to do and what not to do, and then we're embracing that here now. And
we like
choice.
And
you're clearly leaning into that now. You have
the streamer and the option.
Competitive advantage in that you have so much content, and even with PoE 2, that's still going to be the case. So you can lean into that, like making content that is spicier but divisive
for sure.
And now you're like separating trees and having these things be a little able to be focused on a lot more. And you're doing that with the trial with the ascendancies. So and you can kind of do all of them and drip feed yourself smaller progression if you want.
And there's also stuff that you're going to be getting from those, like specific rewards and everything that might incentivize you to do that. But of course, on the other hand, if you don't want to do that content, we have full open trade, right? You can just trade for the rewards, and that's fine too. So that's always part of the...
Yes, like the rewards there, for example, like jewels drop throughout the world. But if you want to get more jewels, you go and run Sanctum. Now, if you want to get the Radius jewels, it's Sanctum. I can't. Trial of the Sycamore.
So just for anyone who isn't a Path of Exile 1 player, this is effectively a sequel to Sanctum League that we did in Path of Exile 1. So it's mechanically very similar. But it's obviously a Mariketh, like a Mariketh trial now, and we've changed a lot of things about it have changed. Like the content is new, but it is effectively the same overall mechanic. In terms of that sort of roguelike. Mechanic that we have.
And it's the same with the other one. You have Ultimatum and PoE 1 being the theme, and of course
now
it's redesigned and it's evolved into
now they have their own building.
Trial of Chaos.
That's crazy.
a lot of people in chat would have been spamming Ultimatum, and for those who haven't played, would probably be like, "What? I don't understand."
Yeah, effectively the Trial of the Chaos of Chaos is a sequel to Ultimatum, which is
and we just have to get used to the new names.
Look at all the
which is very
exclamation
hard.
point redeem keys.
But yeah, anyway,
it only
the point
takes
being,
one
like, of course,
idiot
Val orbs drop in the
to
world
do
as
some
well.
dog
and if you
shit
want
command
a larger
for like
dose of
all
Val
of these
orbs,
other
if you
idiots
don't
to
wanna
follow
trade,
suit.
feel free
Crazy.
to run some ultimatums. Thing is, because they're all item generated keys as well, it's not like you have to do it right then and there. You can trade the keys away. At any point, you can also buy more keys if you want to farm more of that thing. And if you just want to do it later, just stockpile a bunch of them, run them all at your leisure. You know what I mean? It's like you have the freedom. They are itemized, tradable, as a lot in Path of Exile tradition, but
as is everything, right? We do the only thing you can't trade is gold. So we're like the exact opposite of most games, where it's like the gold is freely tradable and the items get locked. We're like the gold is the only thing you can't trade, and every other item is free and open.
Yeah, and that's because you've made gold be this like way
RMT.
to be like you're playing the game, so you have access to this. And
I don't really give a shit about RMT as long as they just consistently ban people that do it.
So how on the ascendancies and the trials,
You
how
know?
hard do you foresee getting your ascendancy to be while leveling? Do you expect people to fail out and attempt these things multiple times, and what does that look like if you do?
Well, I failed the first time I did this.
Yeah,
did the
Oh
trial.
god, so your
important to know
ascending
that
quest, like your
first
awakening
itemized
quest,
key,
is really hard.
is a quest key, and we have special rules around it that if you do fail, you can just repeat it, right?
Yeah, you changed that recently because
Yes, I did.
that was something that I didn't actually realize you'd changed. I guess it was a little bit too harsh
think
to try to
that's
get another one.
cool.
Yeah, you weren't the only
The
one
awakening
failing
quest
it.
in video is so underwhelming, but it was so
But
impactful.
yeah,
you
so
know
pretty
what
much
I mean?
you get to reattempt it, and
It's a bit
you know,
annoying.
for something like
I think
Ultimatum,
it's pretty cool.
just to immediately
you get,
start
like, a
thinking of
really
exploits.
meaningful
It's, I
reward
can
at the
just
end.
do 3 of the waves, then intentionally fail, and then repeat them. Well, we've thought of that. Don't worry, you can't. But yeah, the first ones are repeatable. You're not going to be like, oh, what the heck? Now I have to just play to the whims of random generation to ascend like that.
Right.
Yeah, so
it is pretty hard though. Like it'll take. I definitely don't think you'll do it on your first attempt.
Really?
I did. Not
You
to
did?
brag.
You did?
Not to brag.
Wow.
I did.
So
I
he's
did.
like-
I was clenched though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, especially in that boss fight.
I was watching him do the boss
you
fight.
came
from
by
afar.
right as I was doing the boss fight.
But you had some like kind of powerful boons there, to be perfectly honest. So.
I got 60% move speed. But
Yeah,
that
you
was
were
part
like-
of my strategic choice.
I was watching you from. I'm like, how is he so fast?
This isn't the PoE 2 slide.
Yeah.
Well, Doctor was going across half the arena.
This game's supposed to be slow.
No.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, maybe
it was
it's
good
a little
fun.
too
quite
hard. I
liked
don't know,
it.
dude.
I like mostly like Sanctum. I don't want to do it all the time, but I did quite like the Trial of Sycamore. But knowing that there's other choices, so I can do Ultimatum instead or something like that, is fun.
100%.
So you've got these like 2 roguelike dungeons that are going into the beta that launch, but they're done very differently. One's got the honor system, which is like a separate health, but it's based on and scaled by your health, which I noted as quite
And your defenses
interesting.
now, it can be
And your
fully
defenses.
mitigated and everything.
So
Yeah.
fully scaled by your character. You go in a tanky character, you'll be tanky in the dungeon, which is really cool. So
And then with
you've solved
Ultimatum,
that.
and just because people will ask, in Ultimatum there aren't any traps.
Yes.
So that's the
no
thing
traps
that
in Ultimatum
yeah.
and no honor system in Ultimatum. If
Correct.
you just want more of a pure
Yeah,
combat
correct. You can do
experience,
Ultimatum,
then that's your choice. And then there's going to be a third one as well, which
There will eventually.
is a secret for
Yeah,
now.
So
but-
once Act 4 goes in, then we'll have
Oh, this
a
sounds
third
so
trial.
much fun.
So,
Hey, what level do you
people sort of
ascend at?
broadly know that the Crewy
Or do you
in
have to,
Act
like,
4, so it's
discover
a
the
question of how
ascension?
the Crewy ascend.
Did they say yet which level you
Yeah, so if
or
there's any
like
other
what
things that have
level
been
that
called
happens at?
trials associated with the crew at some point in the past, and how likely that is to be related.
I'm just thinking now, we're just thinking of that Val Thaumaturge class before, and I'm already thinking like, oh, it'd
Proves
be so
that he
cool
has
if you
1,000
ascend
hours
in
already in
Ultimatum.
PoE
We want the
too.
trial master to say different lines to you because you're like choosing the way of the Val.
Doesn't seem like anybody knows. Usually it's 30-ish. So they
I
haven't
did hear a
actually
few of his
said yet.
lines in some of the gameplay Jonathan was showing me. It was
There's
quite
stages
good.
to
I love
PoE 1,
that
so
he's
it's 35,
back
45,
here,
65.
Trial Master.
Yeah, he's cool.
Good. A little salty sometimes that you're
So hopefully it's like
taking this
35.
power, it seems. So we have the unique rewards from each of them. We got like the like you said, the jewels are global, but there are unique jewels.
I
And
don't
then
really
there
know.
are,
Okay, gotcha.
Unique socketables.
Yeah, like
from
nobody
the other
said
one.
anything. I was like, guys,
And is there something planned to be unique from the final third trial that will be
First
added
ascension
later?
around 31.
Of
Okay.
course.
Yes, there is already.
Secret.
I know what I'm not going to say. Don't worry.
Okay, keep some secrets. Fine then.
Yeah. Again, I value the discovery, right? I'm certainly if I accidentally say it, it is certainly by mistake. But yes, don't fear.
And that Val orbs from the Ultimatum in particular they seem like they're a lot more important, a lot more powerful.
I mean, I certainly think that like some of the stuff is a lot better with how they work. So so one of the things that we wanted to change was that implicits on items are truly implicit. Like you can't get rid of them; they stay there. And so that means that when you do a Val Orb, the mod that you get there now is an addition to whatever implicit already had, which is obviously good. And then the next one being that you can get plus one socket above the normal limit, which is also kind of powerful. So especially with the soul cores, so that in the Trial of Chaos, you get soul cores that you can't get from anywhere else, and those effectively are mods that are typically a bit beyond what you would normally get like on regular items, whereas runes, which kind of drop everywhere, those ones are just kind of normal everyday mods that you would expect to find on any
Resists
kind of item.
and things like
just
that.
resists and damage and that kind of stuff. So effectively the soul cores is is kind of the more end gamey socketables that you might want to be using. And obviously being able to get plus one socket, I mean, it's something that everyone will want, but on the other hand there is that risk of just bricking your item. So that's the deadly gamble you have as your final crafting step there.
It's they are.
Your items
are
can
more
break.
forgiving though.
They are,
But like if you think about we talked about enchantment. Yeah, so some
It's
slots you might value the
grind.
enchantment over a rune or a
We're
socket slot, right?
grinding.
That
It's
probably,
just like
especially
BDO.
towards
I've been
endgame, I'd say that's
uniquely
probably going to
prepared
tilt
for
that
this.
way because maybe a soul core contests with it, but the whole point
Going
is
on
that
without
there's
broker Q. No,
choice there
I'm in.
involved. And then there's,
That guy
there's
died at
enchantment,
level
we just talked
1.
about the socket.
That guy's a moron.
There's obviously always the case of doing nothing, which happens. But, for, just say regular rare items, it will re-roll like 1 to 3 modifiers at random. Effectively do a Chaos Orb on 1 to 3 modifiers, not all 6. And as much as that can often be a downside, because if you're using it on a very good item, obviously it's going to take away the good ones.
Interesting.
But if you're using it on a mid item, you can actually turn it very good. Now, I've had this happen. Like when I've been playing, I've got this is life, defense, double res, and something else that I don't want. And I'm like, I'll just start valing everything because why not? I've got my Val Orbs and I Val it and it re-rolls that bottom mod into a tri-res, and now I got a tri-res double defense life helmet, and I was like, yo, awesome. So even that, which can often be perceived as a bad outcome, now isn't going to completely brick your item. And so, for example, if you have a weapon, you got your 3 damage mods, and you got some bad suffixes, it could even be an option, or hopefully it doesn't just remove all 3 damage mods, whereas before it's like if it bricked it often was almost always a brick, right? Like that item is now dead. So,
and then you told me about a new unique result, which I don't know if you want to spoil or not.
100%.
Yeah.
This is an autonomous ergo chair.
You even got that one past.
You just look up autonomous ergo chair, you'll be able to find it.
I mean,
it's pretty
got
cheap.
it made.
Okay, great.
Well,
we discussed it. I agree. I
far
agree.
as
I messaged it to him
chairs
thinking
go,
he'll be
it's
like,
not a
no way,
Herman
this is
Miller.
unacceptable. But no,
But it's basically a Herman Miller.
It didn't turn into a dexterity chat.
That is reasonably affordable.
What it effectively does is it just takes the mod values and it multiplies.
I've had it for years.
I can't remember exactly the values, but let's just say it
also stained.
changes all the values
It's a
to
nice chair, I don't care,
between
it's comfortable.
0.8 and
My
1.2
posture
of
is
what they were.
infinitely better.
Multiplied. But it
Breathable
doesn't care
mesh
about
back,
the minimum and
so I
maximums.
never sweat into the back
for
of the chair.
example, if you had a
The
1,000
bottom
life
is
counts
cloth,
heart, you can
not
use
leather,
this to
so
get-
my
again,
cheeks
this is
don't
me assuming
stick when I sit in the
20%
chair
variance,
naked,
but
which
I
is
couldn't
really
remember
nice.
what we balanced it to, but you'll be able to get a 1200 life counts heart, for example. Now that's obviously giving up the
And
enchantment
the armrest
socket,
move. I don't know. I'm a pretty basic chair user. I just wanted to fix my posture. It took some getting used to.
You can actually do that, which is interesting. But ultimately, it's like
You guys don't sit in your
now
chair
I'm choosing,
naked?
do I want the enchantment? Do I want an extra,
Shut up.
100 something,
You
200
guys,
life, whatever
I
that
know
ends up
y'all
being?
sit in your chair naked.
Or
Y'all
do I
follow
want the
Asian
socket?
Bunny X. I know it.
So
I know
it's
what's
quite an
going
interesting
on.
choice and adds an extra axis of corruption to unique items. That is, I think,
corrupted divining of uniques. Interesting.
Yeah, effectively, it's divining them, but with higher maximums and lower minimums.
Surely there's going to be some broken things like max res or something like that.
I mean, we'll guess we'll find out.
Cross that bridge when it comes to it. Yeah,
it's fine.
That's the wild Q looking. I'm in
just
game.
talking about the trials, how you actually get your ascendancies, but what about the actual ascendancies themselves? How are they?
So
how are they
crafting.
cooking?
Okay, so there is crafting. Oh, he's talking about cooking. Good.
Well, they're fun. They're cool.
Yeah.
We certainly tried to get.
So
What,
there's
what we
life
tried to
skills.
do is for the classes, we've tried to have one that's a bit more out there.
Yeah.
Something that isn't just like if you think even about in PoE 1, you've got the duelist, and you can go like champion or slayer or holy words I don't remember, but you know the drill. And the gladiator. And the problem is like okay, they're all just about like hitting stuff with weapons, and they haven't. There's nothing really out there. Sure, they all sound cool. Like, don't get me wrong, and they can be cool, and they do have differences, but there's nothing that's like kind of crazy. So all of a sudden now, when you're like, sorceress, you're using all your elemental skills, and now you can just like go into this thing that can stop time. It's a little bit more crazy, and you got the mercenary, and you can turn into a gemling legionnaire and like, effectively fuse gems into your flesh to like, mutate yourself. It's like not just talking about crossbows and projectiles over and over and over and over again. It's like
The
doing
life skilling
kind
is
of whack
crafting,
stuff.
which is
So
endgame.
I really
You
like
need to
that.
be specific.
That's
You
awesome,
either
and
need
we're
to
gonna make sure
buy it or
every single
craft it.
class has one thing that is like definitely out there, and then one thing that's more predictable.
I love
more to
crafting
the
in
expectation
games.
of the trope. For example, the Deadeye to
In
the
BDO,
Ranger.
I used to, before I was a streamer, when I was a life skiller, I used to just craft. I was a crafter. I would make functional clothes. I'd make Grunel. You guys, like way back in the day, that's what I did. Like I love that.
Call out a weapon.
I miss that.
Right? None of them. So we're trying to make sure that they're broad enough to be that you might be a ranger going a Deadeye, but playing a caster, right?
Yeah.
Playing spells, like
Think
keeping all of that
D2 rare
open,
crafting.
that flexibility, that kind of crazy, for the Johnny
That's hard.
players, as we call it out there, who want to just completely experiment and
Crafting is
figure
worse
out,
than BDO?
the
I would've
most
said
broken, weird
probably.
stuff. And you get
It'd be
things
hard.
with that when you're still like, okay,
BDO is an MMO, so it's a different genre. It's gonna have better life skills. It's not even a question. It's gonna have better crafting. It's gonna have better life skills.
And in my
Right?
second weapon set, I'm using a
But like,
spellcaster staff.
let's
with
be
a
honest,
bunch of
crafting in
projectile
videos
stuff, and I've
not
invested
super great
into
right now, but
more spell damage side, and you got a whack tree, and all of a sudden now you're this like Deadeye archer spellcaster mage hybrid doing all
Throne and
kinds of
Liberty's
wacky
like
stuff,
crafting
or
who?
like even or let's say the same build and experimenting with a bunch of triggers, and so you're using your bow as a quill rain as a high attack speed delivery
I'm just
mechanism
really excited to do the
for
extension,
laying down a
and,
bunch
like,
of either
that's-
CCs or
that
slows,
looks really fun
or
for me.
building up
And then
crowd
building a
controls,
cool,
and then you're
like,
using
skill
the
tree.
caster stuff, and like you get some pretty out there things going on. And
so many ads. I have min ads on my channel. I have 3 minutes of ads an hour. It's the lowest you can run.
Broad and now opens
Without
up the
turning
world to
them
what
off.
you can do. And same like the Gemling Legionnaire on the Mercenary is
You're
entirely
getting 1
just
minute of ads every
about
20
gem
minutes.
slots, skills, support, zero. There's no. You don't have to be anything. You can be literally whatever build you want. And yeah, so that's embracing that and making sure that people still, even though we have all these classes, we're embracing that path of Exile. You can do anything fantasy that we want people to be able to do. And if you don't want to go with the trope, perfectly fine.
Yeah,
and
so
you'll still be powerful.
It sounds like you're really trying to avoid that thing that we've had a couple times in PoE 1 where like a certain niche is relegated to one ascendancy. Like that's the only way to go for it.
sure.
But it sounds like that's not going to be the case here.
Well,
quite
at
as
least
much.
if we're doing our job
I'm used
right,
to
that
20
should-
minutes of ads an hour.
And with
Yeah,
so many
no.
of the ascendancies as well.
Out of here.
Got a lot of choices. Originally, the plan was to like have all of the PoE 1 ascendancies available, and it was some sort of weird
58%
split
of what,
campaign stuff
Genesis?
and all that. I don't really know at this point. It's a bit confusing. You mentioned Deadeye though, so it sounds like some of them are coming forwards. But is it all just being
I think it's more
redone
the,
at this
the
point?
At this point, yeah. At this point, they'll just be different, right? Like originally, way back when, we were planning on just keeping the ascendancies as they were and putting them over. But at this point, that wouldn't even be good enough.
Stuck at 11%.
Because, like, it doesn't fit the
Is
kind of
mine
like
stuck at
Path of Exile
11%?
2 way of designing this thing.
was
So
thinking that.
yeah, I mean, like we might have a class.
I've already got the
Deadeye,
drop.
and it might have
Just
the same
refresh
themes,
if it's
but
at
it'll be,
11%.
like different actual mechanics and different things.
A couple other people had that problem too.
I mean, yeah, even the
Probably a
Deadeye, you got
Twitch thing.
Tailwind. Works differently.
Yeah, I got my.
You've still
I
got
think
an
a lot.
additional
I think pretty much all my viewers got their drops.
Like there are things that certainly carry over, but it's really easy, and it's honestly been fun just looking at them going like, now
Still
we have all
69%.
these system
You're getting
changes,
there.
all these skills, and everything works like this. Just what would the perfect class be? Not like how can we retrofit
mine when
and
Blue got
band-aid a
his, see?
PoE 1 class to work? It's just way better to look at it and go, here's all
82.
the things we want.
We're getting you there, boys.
So, well, yeah, like when you only have now the life and mana flask and stuff, it could obviously things don't work quite the same. But then now you have the charm system, and all of a sudden, if
I
you
actually
did
do
have
wonder
that,
if
you
Pathfinder would be cool with that.
Exactly.
Like stacking charms.
So it's just here are 12, eventually 36 classes. It's not really
36?
like here's the PoE 1 counterpart and they're identical kind of thing anymore, for sure.
Oh?
Too many things changed for that to even be possible anyway.
Yeah. All right. That sounds very epic. We can skip over the flasks and trinkets as we did cover that very well. So moving into skills, I realized I was like,
You learned
had many
Bruno with Blade
pages of
Bow Quest. I
questions,
did.
Yeah, and then I was like, wait,
Yeah.
we haven't even talked
But
about
I was already
skills.
crafting stuff at that point.
so much to
Ascendancy
for us to
equals a
discover
class.
over the course of
Okay,
this
all right,
program.
okay.
How has the list of skills been shaping up overall?
I mean, it's certainly getting there. I mean, look, there are even certain skills that won't even make it, even just within the classes we have. Like, there are still going to be some more skills coming later on as well for these classes, because there are more skills that we got just about there, and just didn't quite make it. And like getting a class finished in terms of the skills you need, like. It sort of seems very easy when you come up with, like, okay, we need 22, 23, 24, number of skills, something like that. And it seems like that's not so many and you kind of design them. But when you actually come up with all of the things, the way they interact together, the number of prototypes you have to do that kind of don't really work, and and you end up not being fun. And then, of course, the support gem stuff, like you need to make sure that every skill has enough viable supports so that you can actually even recommend to people to be able to do.
AJ Saucy, welcome back for 3 months, man. Thanks for your Prime sub, but I know you have a choice as to where to go with it. You can sub for free with Amazon Prime, guys. No ads. Can I get Karazad stones in a different way than waiting for the Dark Rifts? No, you have to wait. You mean like the
it's just like there's so many different elements to actually make skills work, and once again, it's another area I think that was underestimated to some degree before, and it does take to actually get that finished, it takes a lot. That's been a total
for every
struggle.
other level you should be able to enhance it.
We didn't think we would have to have only 6 character classes initially.
I assume there'll be no ads anyway.
We were thinking we would have 8.
Yeah, I'm thinking about turning ads off on my channel. I'm making so little money with ads.
Actually getting to actually finish something, it just ended up being too much.
I'm hoping people still sub, even though they don't.
We've got a bunch. We've got a bunch of work on more of the classes that we've done. There's things there, but it's that finishing work of making sure that all the systems in the game come together to support, how that works. That requires a lot.
Doing all of that as we're still discovering how we want those systems to work, like the changes to support gems and all that, as we're also making support gems, as we're making character classes, just can cause things to slow down quite a bit, and then we have to recalibrate and all. It was an extreme amount of work.
The last 5 days, guys, I've gotten $5 in ad revenue on Twitch. I'm wondering if it's bugged or what, but I know the adpocalypse is kind of going on, but if that doesn't improve, I'm just going to turn ads off. It's not even worth playing.
As much as you can't play them on day 0, a lot of some of those other classes that we have shown in the past, and some of the skills and stuff, there's a lot there.
Maybe you should run more
to make it seem like it's shallow or anything, but we will be adding those classes in.
That's not the play.
Yeah, the thing that
I refuse to run more ads.
Surprising me,
I think it's a scam.
Well, when you click that old
the viewers have a worse experience when you watch ads.
Quite a lot of skills in there, but. Yeah. You initially kind of box yourself away where you think, okay, so I'm playing the mercenary, so I'm just looking at the crossbow skills. And then I was like, well, what if I go look at the elemental skills? And then I find flame wall, and I'm like, oh, I can shoot my projectile.
Won't you get pre-roll ads if you don't run 3 minutes an hour? Yeah, that's why I run 3 minutes an hour.
That you can actually
so that I don't get pre-roll ads.
With the automated weapon swapping. It's not like Toxic where you have to push the button a bunch of times, and you've got the trees that customize whenever you do it automatically on the fly.
But I can also turn ads off completely. But then I get no ad revenue at all.
Use a sword on the other hand.
Pre-rolls are the worst. Yeah, they prevent discovery.
It's brutal. Sword and crossbow.
So that stuff is is crazy. I mean, in the actually there was one in the community guys recorded where they were using a bell, the bell skill with the quarterstaff with the rapid. Rapid shot,
that would be way better.
Mercenary skill. And when I saw it, I was like, oh man, that's like a whole other thing. That I didn't even know about that particular combo until I saw it in the some of the footage.
Troll Arius, thanks for that 1,000 biddies. Holy shit!
I was throwing my gas
thanks so much, man.
Which you can blow up with your explosive grenades. But then I was throwing it at a boss that was doing burning ground, and it was blowing up instantly. So it reacts to the environment. Well, it's obviously going to react to my friends doing
so much ads, and I remember you who were interested in PoE too, and someone who hates ads.
Here is the reason why there's going to be crazy builds that we don't anticipate, because some of the stuff that can happen between classes, I just have no doubt we will not have discovered.
I'm a min ad enjoyer. I think that it increases my overall.
We do test play all the time.
You guys want to chat more and interact with me if I have less ads. So I run the minimum possible amount of ads. I've been doing that for a long time now. Because
I'm not just standing there.
You guys aren't going to chat if you're watching an ad, right? It's just not. It's not a thing.
I'm actually
Like, it
doing all this
increases
active
engagement with
support
me.
and like different conditions to synergize with the group, and how it's like, oh, okay, you're doing that skill. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do this and enhance my
Lunaria,
armor breaking and
thanks
go
so much,
ballistic armor
Queen.
breaking, and you just spam your thing that
14-month
consumes it.
resub. Thank you so much, Lunaria. I
So you
really
get a lot of that
appreciate
stuff
you.
going on for sure.
Thank you
where,
so much. Over a year.
You know, it's kind of honestly the terrifying part as well, where it's like,
Ask Janae.
you know, what do we have? We had the whole
30
like,
minutes of ads an
vulnerability
hour.
curse.
Well, we have different philosophies.
with gas cloud ticks or something, and it was like literally applying armor break like every frame, and so you have the monsters going ting ting ting
And then
ting
you
ting
have
ting.
armor explosion on there as well.
Yeah, and then you have
probably.
some other thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you have some other guy consuming it, and again, oh my god, Quill Rain! Just don't even how many bloody synergistic things with Quill Rain.
You can do a lot with that, eh?
All the lightning arrows on the ground, and because they can, you know, lightning things hit them and explode, and all of a sudden now everyone's running around with Quill Rain, spamming lightning rods everywhere, and
yeah,
and Frostwall. Somehow Frostwall had about 15 abuse cases, and
I mean, that's historically accurate.
yeah, true.
That's historically accurate.
And all that. It returns. Sounds like it's coming back.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's cool. Even finding all the stuff so far has been really fun. But yeah, I generally play multiplayer. Most of the alpha I've done is being in multiplayer. I play with other people.
I kind of
want to get a lot of that testing in there as
typically
well.
in games like this, I like to play solo like 80 to 90% of the time. And then I play with people like 10% of the time.
Just for good fun. Honestly, the thing that's like hard is to then like, because you get this thing which is
It'll be
quite
December
interesting, where you
60th.
have a staff is both a player and a developer. And I'm of the like, you
They
better
tease
not
us
keep
with
that
all this, they're like
that,
edging us, you know what
something
I
that's
mean?
I wouldn't say exploit, but you know, something that's OP, a secret, right? You better bloody tell me, because
It's the exact reaction you had earlier.
You were saying people weren't telling you about their good
like you get a
builds.
situation where someone doesn't want to tell you about their build, that's because they're like, oh, Mark will nerf it then. You know,
like that's you're supposed to be making the game, not
Exactly.
hiding your good
I
builds.
legitimately had a Monday meeting, and you know, whatever. I was like, I swear, if I see any of you at the top of the ladder on day one, we're going to have a talk.
Exactly.
I know you've hidden something
exactly,
from me.
Exactly.
No, I did tell you about my flashbangs and how good.
But maybe it's fine. I just wanted them to check. Just
Well, that's the
don't
thing.
know.
No, that is the thing that is hard. No one knows if their thing is actually look, there's a line that gets crossed, yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't know. Is it just I've found something cool and it's powerful, or have I found something cool and it's broken? You know, and those things. I mean, we have to make those decisions, of course. And a lot of the time, what is reported is just fine. And it's like, yeah, you got a good weapon and you got this combat. You're strong.
If it's
such a weird concept to have developers that are just
but if
this
you're just like,
open
I just pick these skills and no
about
matter
their
what weapons I'm
development
wearing,
process.
I'm just like completely
This is
ridiculous, then that's a different situation.
wild.
Because now it's just a thing that anyone can
What?
do at a moment's notice, rather than actually requiring like, you know, oh, I have to find this combo of items and things like
Were
that.
you always a
Like,
funny
so it's
person, or did you just
story.
develop it? As with everything, it's kind of a skill that I've developed over my life. I decided at a really young age that the thing I liked most in life was making people laugh. And so I studied human psychology and human nature just kind of passively as I grew up to try to make people laugh. I worked on my line delivery, I worked on everything. It was like I was talented at it, but I also worked at it, right? Skill is just acquired by hours and hours of beating on your craft, and I just got really good at it after a while, and then just became who I was, which is exactly what I wanted.
Being now having no levels, and
I like being funny.
the restriction
Making
of
people
having only
laugh
one
brings
support
me
gem on
joy.
a character of a type, but having a lot more of them.
I really like how this works. Like, I think that it adds so much more build
Hex,
diversity.
it's good
and
to see you,
interest,
buddy. It's
to
been a
have to
long
be
time.
Making the
My
decision of,
Valkyrie
like,
friend.
where is this going to go? And the thing that's been important, though,
PoE
with
has
that
been doing
system
this
is
for
it
years. None of the big
requires a
studios
lot
seem to
more
watch them.
support gems
Yeah,
to
it's
this,
wild.
because you need
They're a pretty
because
big
they have one
studio,
character,
though.
You need tons of them, and like you need a lot of
Grinding
ways to increase damage and a lot of
IRL,
ways to support different mechanics. It's like if you're going to have something like freeze, like
Season of
if you're going to
PoE?
have a freezing skill, you need to be able to support that.
They have actively, they are actively in the community and game from start to end of the season to make sure that anything broken or exploited is addressed as quickly as they can be. Yeah, that's wild. Are you telling me you don't have to deal with protected area for 5 years before it gets nerfed? What are we talking about?
Going on there, but I think that the choices that you end up with as a player,
Sinistrous, welcome back for 3 months in a row, buddy. I really appreciate you.
Like, I think
Thank you so much,
leads to
man.
a lot more interesting decisions with how you build, and I think that to me is where a lot of why it just works so much better. And we were certainly
Training dummies have my hash at 35% to level 67.
Per, character
oh my
thing,
goodness.
because it sounds bad.
Been
if you
playing
just hear
other
about it as a
games.
player
I think
without
a lot of
actually
us have been playing
it.
other
Your first
games.
reaction is you just hear that and you're like, oh, it's just a restriction, and it is arbitrary in some sense, right? There's no like. we can't justify it thematically, really. It just is what it is, and so that, I really don't like that kind of thing usually, because I want the theme to match the mechanic as much as possible. But in this case, it just made the gameplay so much better that like it just had to happen. So it was
arguably, if you need to, like, if you end up in a situation where you I have to put the support on every slot.
Exactly, that is less choice, and that's the reason why the gameplay is
less
bad.
choice, less interest, and also you may as well just bake that now into the skills and or
100%. And so this is the thing. It is actually
well,
much
the people
worse
on
to have
Reddit
that
are morons.
So like, but like,
you know how the neckbeard fedora wearing
you have to kind of make to people if you want to kind of
dipshits.
convince them that this is actually the right way.
Like the moderators on Reddit are just
this
insane.
restriction. It doesn't
Just see the
sound like what they're
BDO
getting out of
mods.
that is more
They're
choice.
insane.
It sounds like they're getting less. But the reality is, it is actually more choice, because you no longer have
Wait,
like
what
mandatory. Like here's the 5 mandatory things you have to put on the skill. It's like there's actually much more going on.
I think it's much better helped realize my experience on the Mercenary that your vision of having like all of these skills available to you and them actually being worth using.
For sure.
Because if you had all the same support gems, I feel like you just pick the one that does the most damage and you make it do the most damage, and that's the only skill you use.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing is now it's completely reasonable to have a skill in your character that you just use occasionally, right? Like for every 5 minutes, you might have a situation where you need to use that, and that's actually fine and completely reasonable.
Yeah, so I'm playing a Grenader, and I would be like, okay, I should only use this grenade normally, is what I would be like in Path of Exile.
What the fuck?
This is the best grenade, or maybe this one that does like interacts with it in some way, the obvious combo. But now I'm actually like, well, there's a reason I could use those lightning ones to apply shock, because I have all these shock support gems that I'm not using anywhere else, because I'm using the damage and the LMP on my big damage dealers. I can put the shock things on there, and I can actually have a shock setup. I can incorporate that into my build. I can incorporate poison
there's a
into my
punishment
build
going on in OnlyFans going on right now. Watch it.
And maybe you only use that occasionally when you face something that's got heavy armor, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, it's like that kind of
I'll
stuff.
get to OnlyFans when this finishes.
That situational stuff, I think, just makes the game way more interesting.
It's really feeding into the flavor of the mercenary, as like this like prepared kind of fighter who has all these tools at their disposal as well. Like you're like, oh, I have this grenade for if I get into this situation, and this grenade for this one. It's so good.
Yeah, nice.
I love it. I've a couple of questions here. People definitely have been asking about like Vile skills and transfigured gems and stuff and like that. I feel like this sort of thing doesn't make sense at launch. Exactly.
Yeah, because ultimately, if we were going to add something like that, it would make sense to add it just as another skill. So at this point, there's no real reason to do that. Like that kind of stuff comes in when we want to have a specific reward system somewhere that wants to be able to do that, and so we don't really need to do it right now.
What is a Vile gem?
Look, we might
the hell
decide to
is
bring that theme back and in a reward system later.
Yeah, I think
like
for Vile skills especially, it's a cool flavor.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
but I think the transfigured thing is also interesting. Like, if you're looking to be able to, like, the reason why transfigured was nice is because we got sort of iterated on a bunch of different themes around the same skill, which obviously at this point we don't.
It's a corrupted gem. Well, they had those ways to corrupt your armor.
Skills, you know what I mean? So all the iterations.
They said it was like the last piece that you add, and it's permanent, and you can't upgrade further once you corrupt it.
Like that in the future, like we absolutely will be.
Do you know how many skills roughly
I
you
guess
have
this is different.
Sasha going to end up with?
I actually don't know the number off the top of my head, but what I will say is that we initially, I think when we announced like what the full game would have, we said 240, and I'm pretty sure we're actually nearing that. I feel
definitely it's going to be way higher than that.
Yeah, because I think we're nearing that now when we've only added half the classes. So I think that means that there's going to be a lot more than that.
100 of them or whatever are like some little utility skill or whatever, but there's even if you discount for those, it's
I know that's a lot.
Okay, so it's a second ultimate.
There's 20 to 25 for each of those for each class. So just with 6 of those, I'm terrible at math in my head. But I feel like that's 120. Well, let's say it's just a bit over 110 or something. Like, you end up around there, 120, something like that. I think probably 120.
200% BSR variant. I see.
And then you've also got all the buff gems as well, and like each character class has 9 of those.
So you never use it.
So that then sort of adds up. So you've already reached probably 200.
Usable once every 30 minutes,
and then
or once every 30 years for most players.
That really are skills. But
I'm just kidding.
You don't get.
It's a 200% BSR that you do use.
Like we're talking about all the ascendancy little skills, and there's like uniques that have little skill things on them. And like
all staffs, wands, and scepters have a skill
exactly. Right? We're not even counting that, right? Like because the staffs wands.
Yo, Sinister, thanks for your Prime sub, but I really appreciate you.
Those are like that's how many of those? There's like 20 of those probably.
I mean.
Like if you add them all up,
I don't know who remembers all these things.
I know, but there's, no one has counted recently. But there's a
this is PoE, baby. They don't have dead skills. Use it every 30 to 40 seconds to kill nasty enemies. Yeah, I'm looking forward to spamming.
Yeah. And those skills,
I want to play it now.
By the way, ascendancy class skills are fully supportable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna
wild,
low-key
'cause
see
I
if
remember
they'll
there's
just
a thing
pay
with
for me
default
to
attack where
play
you
the
can
game.
support that now
Yep,
if
you can
want.
support default attack, and you can support any
Ascendancy
skill that comes
ones
from
was-
something.
That one caught me by surprise. I was like, oh wow,
Yep.
you can actually link those up.
Yep, it's yeah. So that you're going to end up with quite a lot going on there.
I was even surprised when I was like, oh, I can add, additional accuracy to Herald of Ice, and it like provides a buff to my character. I
Yep.
can like add buffs through support gems.
Well, you know why that is though, because those things like heralds are so hard to find like a good set of supports to recommend.
Yeah,
so we're like, damn, we have to come up with like tons of these now. They're like really
I like
difficult.
that idea though. You can like create a custom aura.
Yeah,
kind of.
absolutely.
Cool.
So yeah, it's that actually mean it's actually nice because part of the it means that
Maple
you get
Story,
the feeling
best
of having
game.
more aura effects.
If
on
you
your
like
character
being
without having to
scammed
have
out
the
of your
spam
money,
actual auras
absolutely.
that many characters had in PoE 1.
Next
you get to
on,
kind of have
bro.
all that stuff as well. So that's been
Straight
really
up.
Thanks for the invisible aura, MTX.
Hey.
Well, it does remind me though. So with all the, this is very off topic, but with all the
You guys
very
haven't
good
had the
teasers
audio
you've been
issue
doing
in
for,
a
like,
while, right?
New
I think
3D
I
art
figured out how it
remakes and
works.
stuff like that. Have you had any thoughts about reworking the skin transfer MTX in some way, making it more permanent? More
honestly,
able to, like,
it's not in our thing about
Haven't even
stuff we're
thought about
thinking
it?
about. You know, like it'll work the same
Yeah,
way it works.
I think
for
it's
now,
'cause
at
I was
least.
kicking
but
the-
obviously, skin
the cloud
transfer
mixer.
in PoE 2. There's a lot more cool base art.
So as long as I don't kick it under the table, we'll be fine.
So, yeah, you'll probably be using that a lot more.
Fingers
It'd be
crossed.
cool to see something for that in the future potentially. So onto the end game, which was I feel like a big bulk of the announcement
for sure.
Yeah. So just as like an overview, so we have the end game versions just for beta launch, by the way.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Because it's going to be a lot more later.
Yeah, yeah.
We have the
He keeps calling it beta. It's early access. It's not a beta. You are kind of playtesting, but like it's a finished
fully
game,
farmable
right?
content.
Yeah,
They
there's
don't
some
have trees,
stuff
though,
for them
those
to
ones.
finish
They don't
up,
have
but like the
trees, they do have
systems
a
in the game are all
progression
done.
system of some kind. So you've got the
Yeah,
relics,
like relics,
in,
yeah.
in the
WoW
Sanctum,
level starting when?
sequel.
After
And then,
this is
the Trial
over.
of
No,
Chaos,
what are
you
we
have,
talking about?
The inscribed ultimatums have getting mobs.
Hey, there's Miz.
From
There's
the end.
Miz
So when
right
you
there.
kill the final the final boss of that, which is alleged to be the Trial Master. Then you
alleged.
Yeah. Then he'll drop items that can then have mods on them. To make
You
the
don't
trial
have
itself
$30?
harder. And there's also some pretty interesting ones on there that we actually were going to put in the video, but it was starting to get a
Find
bit
the
long.
$30.
Which
Go
was
clean
that,
the garage
you've
or
got the
something
thing
for
which
mom.
where you've got the bets that you can make of like put up 13 exalts, and then you might get double that back if you're able to complete the thing. So those are some of the mods that can spawn on there, and as well as mods that make the actual trial harder as well. So there's things
Why
like
do you
that
need
as well.
$30?
So, those
Early
do have those
access
kind of
for
like
PoE,
different
30
outside
bucks.
the atlas because they're not really part of the atlas. Like you'll get keys for them while you're playing in game, but technically speaking, they're kind of like they scale to end game, but they're not like sort of part of the whole atlas. Like play them there.
Yeah, so they're their own distinct end game
exactly,
too. Like,
exactly.
So there'll be 3 roguelike dungeon things that will be
Sure.
like
Or,
distinct
I mean,
end games.
I wouldn't say 3 roguelike dungeons. I will say there will be 3 trials that have various mechanics that can be different.
Yeah.
But then of course you've got the 4 kind of what I guess would say sort of I don't know. We actually need a name for what are we calling the things that are icons on the
because they were called leagues, but they're not really
yeah,
leagues.
it doesn't really make sense to call it a league exactly. That is what we call them internally. We just call refer to them as like there are 4 leagues that you have that appear there.
Doesn't really work anymore, does it?
I don't have a good idea right now.
Yeah, we need to come up with a
we
name for
probably
that.
have actually named it. I just don't remember what it is.
Right. And then you've got the kind of boss hunting kind of element as well. And then the kind of, I guess what you would say is the pinnacle of the kind of boss hunting thing is then, you've got the cities with the lieutenants and then the Uber Act bosses. And then above that, you have the pinnacle boss who we don't want to spoil. Although I did show you a little bit about it just in private before. That one's going to be hard.
Yeah, I just want to see
you're cooking
I
up
just
some
want to see
pretty
the gameplay,
difficult,
dude. I'm
mechanics
excited
there.
to see the gameplay.
It's fun. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah,
because now you don't need to worry about if people can't progress through. It's not a progression
Can I
blocker.
name my skeletons,
You
or
can
are they
kill
just?
them.
It's a progression,
Don't name the
block to difficulty to the high
I'm gonna
difficulties,
name the
though, because,
skeletons
once
after
you-
viewers,
once you
and I'm
kill
gonna
that, of
throw
course,
you
then
guys at
increase
them.
the difficulties, and then it's like, okay, now try it again. But way harder, and then like
Oh god, they're having
there's 4
technical
levels of difficulty
difficulties.
to each of those.
distinct passive tree, and progression through them is also by doing
Can
them.
I be one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like Lord Farquaad here. Some of you may die.
Allocate points for
But that's a
certain content, and then
sacrifice
you feel like you can't
I am
do
willing to
the other
make.
content because you're kind of wasting the points that you've got.
Yeah, the lock-in.
And we kind of band-aided that in PoE 1 by adding multiple Atlas trees as a way, but I think the solution is much better, where effectively you can progress all of them, and you can either do like, just all in on one for a while, or you can just like, do
All
each
the
of them as
mods
you
are
come to them, and, just add them kind of piecemeal.
Get in there, mods.
But either way, however
Last
you
mod
want to do
standing
it,
gets VIP.
you can make progress on your character. Well, I should say in your league for all of those, because the progress and all that stuff is, of course, for the whole league, not just for a single character.
Yeah, and previously we used the Atlas
Oh my
tree.
God, she's
I would
got
say
hate
very much
spikes,
so
nope.
to make sure that we were doing
It's just
the
like
type of
Evelyn.
content that we wanted to do.
Yeah, so now it's not so much about finding the content, because that's what the tablets are for.
Yeah.
Now it's more about improving your ability to
Q,
sustain effectively. Like
Q.
you're going to want to have those points to sort of get sustainability for the
That's so funny. It's
next
just
level
like
up. And we want to make sure that there is
just
sustain
like old
if you're
Evelyn
doing,
is just
engaging
spamming
with those
Q
mechanics well.
Yeah.
So
all the
effectively
time,
you do
bro.
have to actually like to get sustain at higher
You can probably
difficulties.
get
you
MTX
will
that
need to
makes
be
them
able to,
purple.
be
Oh
making
god,
smart
I'm in.
choices in terms of allocating and like using the tablets correctly and that kind of stuff.
You can choose your skills
like
based
it is
off of
part that
the
sort of story
gems
of
you
all that.
equip. Okay.
So yeah,
I like
that's
the hate
that's
spikes.
kind
They're
of the main
fun.
thing with that.
Yeah, this
It
idea
reminds
of like
me of
sustaining
Evelyn.
the content you
Who's
want to
my
do by doing
favorite
it
character in
is
like any game.
a little different to how it's been in PoE 1 a lot of the time, where it's like,
Sure.
you have to
Oh, look at
fuel
those
it
little
by going back
minions,
to
bro. Look at
maps.
those scorpions.
Get your delve juice
I mean,
or
you're
whatever.
still doing maps ultimately,
Yeah,
in terms
like,
of like,
to find
but yeah,
more.
but effectively, like, so long as you're doing the content that you that you want to do, you should, and as well, and making it harder.
I don't really like the wand thing. I like the staff. I like the big
then
staff.
you will be able to sustain
Or
that
the
stuff.
scepter
And,
or whatever.
like if you want every single map to have a breach in it, that's absolutely doable by using the tablets correctly.
Yeah, so the Atlas passive trees and the trees for each of the distinct types of content is about scaling the reward and difficulty primarily now.
Yeah. It's absolutely.
And what does...
Oh no.
So, like,
no.
On the breach notes, it said like increased difficulty. What does that mean?
Oh god.
It's somewhat arbitrary and asymmetric, but it will feel like,
This
for
is the
example,
problem with
some of the
being
difficulties will actually change the boss's
PoE
skills
developers?
and how they work.
It's basically a third world country. They have no internet.
It is generally the small nodes will increase difficulty of the meta content, whereas the notables will increase the reward of the in-map content. But when I say difficulty, that is reward as well. So an example of how this works is like,
Whoa, she summoned like
let's say
wolves.
The boss has 6 uniques it could drop, or 5 or 6 uniques. It can drop 3 at difficulty 0. Then at, say, difficulty 1, it can drop, maybe has increased level.
Oh yeah, I'm
or
definitely
higher
on
item
board for this.
level,
This is great.
some rarity. Now also that when I say rarity, also do note rarity does increase the grade of items, not just
that's wild.
making them yellow or orange. It does make them better yellows or better not better oranges.
Right?
But it does affect. Yeah, it affects other things about items than just the rarity.
Yes. And so when I talk about just getting rarity here, I don't want people to, and PoE1 players in particular, to think, they're just going to go from yellow to more yellow. So anyway, and maybe the next tier will add a unique to the pool, like a more, what we hope will be more valuable unique. And then the next one can do a bit more rarity, something else maybe, introduce a different unique perhaps. And then the last difficulty introduces something ideally, without giving away exact specifics of them, more in the line of a modular unique item, say like Megalomania, or like Forbidden Flesh and Flame from PoE 1. So a unique item that is like ideally very powerful, very chase, but has a lot of different combinations. Watcher's Eye is another good example.
A lot of gameplay footage
a
here.
new series of jewels is a good example.
Look at all
There
the
are other
minions,
uniques that
bro.
are modular and stuff, and that
She's
comes
got
in at
so
the
many
last tier.
people following her.
And so you want to really be getting to that
I got
highest
a whole ass
difficulties. You
Twitch
can be
army with
getting
me.
these like farming for these extremely good, powerful, unique items. But of course, you have the thing, if you're never ready for it, if you try it and you're like, oh, this is too hard, you can always just respec the nodes.
Yeah, you can unspec them away and then not, just effectively decide, like, I've got these points, but I'm not, I want to go back and do this later. And so that ability to effectively configure the difficulty like that, I think, is...
So if you're maybe target farming one of the uniques, the difficulty 0 drops, you might want to just be like, I'll do that. I'll do the difficulty stuff later.
Finally, a
and I'll just farm it at this
necromancer. Yeah, that's
difficulty.
basically what
I
this
think that's
is.
a much better way than
It's sick.
than some of the systems we've used to scale that in the past. And the nice thing is, of course, with difficulty, difficulty is that we can effectively use whatever scaling levers we want to make that more difficult without necessarily having to, because we could have been like, oh, you increase difficulty, it's like 200% life or something like that. But by effectively being a bit more vague about it, we can actually specifically tailor the difficulties of the different tiers, with more specific changes.
Yeah, this multiple projectile thing you shoots has more projectiles.
Sure, and that kind of thing. So, which is whatever we feel works best for making this particular fight more difficult.
It seems like there's a lot more for players to kind of discover experimentally there as they progress.
For sure.
In what ways they're getting harder. And that is going to be different for different players too, where a different build is affected by a difficulty change more so than others.
Potentially.
And that's an interesting question as well, I think, where how much are you guys pitching these sorts of distinct endgame pieces of content at being completable by the same build or by encouraging players to make a different build that's better at certain...
Uh-oh, it's effed.
This is a very difficult one, and it's something that we've discussed a bit recently is
it's cooked.
The harder you make, the hardest.
All right, guys,